All right, folks in cyberspace, at this time, we want to welcome you to Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, your host, Anthony Sie. Again, folks in cyberspace, it is my pleasure at this time to welcome you to Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Anthony Sie. Today is a special debate, a debate between the opposition bloc and the ruling bloc. Representing the ruling bloc is Mr. MacCullay Wleh, and also representing the opposition, which is the CPP or Unity Party, is Mr. George Preston Lobbo. We don't have Mr. Lobbo here in studio. The debates were widely advertised, and Mr. Lobbo should be here. We have made some effort. He is aware of the time. Mr. Lobbo is not here at this time. Wherever Mr. Lobbo is, we hope he is safe. But the debate must continue, and Mr. MacCullay is comfortably seated. Our topic: are we standing or are we stranded on the promises of President Weah? That is the topic for today's debate, and this debate have 5 different segments. And I am sure our guests are all ready. Sorry, again, we don't have Mr. Lobbo, so I am sure Mr. MacCullay is comfortably ready as he is comfortably seated. At this time, folks, please hit that share button and share the show as much as possible. Again, it is a special debate. It promises to be politically juicier and entertaining. And so don't go anywhere. This is the most talked about debate between the ruling position and the opposition. Topic: are we standing or stranded on President Weah's promises? In order not to waste time, we will go straightly into business by welcoming our guest, the only guest who is ready at this time. That is Mr. MacCullay Wleh. Mr. Wleh, I want to welcome you to Focus on Liberia. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you as always, Anthony, and thank you to Mr. Jar, the entire Focus on Liberia family. Let me say I appreciate the great job you guys are doing. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wleh, right there. Mr. Wleh has been a long-standing member of the ruling CDC. My understanding is that he joined the CDC as early as 2005, and he is still with his party. And on our topic, he said, we are standing on the promises of President Weah in a
Just to make a correction to that, I joined 2004 actually.
Okay, 2004. Thank you for that correction. So he joined the CDC in 2004, and since then he has been with his party. And on our topic, he said, we are standing proper strong on the promises of President Weah. And so we are going into the conversation. We will want to know whether or not we are definitely standing proper strong. Our other guest, Mr. Josh Lobbo, told us that not only are we not not only are we not stranded on the promises of President Weah, we are actually dying. We hope he can join in sometime during the show to tell us why he thinks we are dying on the promises of President Weah. All right, let's get started. Mr. Wleh, as always, it's our tradition here. Who is MacCullay Wleh? Briefly.
Yeah, okay. MacCullay Wleh is a son of Sino County, to be specific, Dodo in Sino County, and obviously a Liberian, and a member of the CDC since it landed in Liberia in 2004. And I've been with the CDC since then. I've had some fundamental issues before which I cannot go into. But then with the CDC, and then later on became the chief of staff in the office of the party national chairman. That was in 2009, and beyond that, also I've worked with government, had a very uh, short spell in government, working at the national legislature as a research officer. I also uh, been managing a clearing forwarding firm in Liberia, the Transmondial Clearing Forwarding firm that I managed for several years. Uh, involved I was involved into the clearing and forwarding of all of the materials used to renovate the Ministry of Foreign Affairs after the Civil War ended in 2002. And most of what were used to renovate the STD Sports Complex, including the Fender campus. So I've been involved with a lot of things back home. And right now, currently, I live here in Minnesota in the US. Currently, I work for a company called JLL Americas. We do maintenance services for Amazon facilities and equipment. So I work there as a senior robotic engineer currently. And basically, that is MacCullay Wleh in a nutshell.
Mr. Wleh, thank you. And to you, our viewers, you know me. My name is Anthony C.A., the host of the Hour of Politics here at Focus on Liberia. We want to say thank you for always joining our broadcast here. Yeah, at Focus on Liberia. Our goal has always and will always be to educate, to elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Today, we are putting the spotlight on politics. Mr. Wleh, let's get started. You said that on the promises by President Weah, we are standing proper strong. Let's look at as our first segment in this debate. Let's talk about the economic policies that were being introduced to the Liberian people and their implementation. Let us be a little specific here. Uh, but first of all, you said we are standing proper strong. So give us your opening statement. What you think, what make you to believe that we are standing proper strong on the promises of President Weah?
Well, to delve into that, CA, we got to look at a few factors, right?
Mhm.
I always tell people that to make comparison or to evaluate performance, you got to be using the most be a yardstick or benchmark being used. And so, firstly, I love to acknowledge to the Liberian people because most of the times people don't understand where we come from when we say uh, certain things. I want people to understand everything that I will be saying here in no way suggests that Liberia is a great place. Liberia is one of the best countries on earth right now. Everything that is okay. I am very aware of the economic difficult times our people are going through right now. I am very aware that things are tough. People are finding it hard to find a daily bread. Kids are struggling to go to school, or parents are struggling to put their kids in school. Clinics, hospitals are struggling to keep running, and all of those things. But my background would be coming from my backdrop is basically where we were when George Weah took office, where we are, and where we are headed. That what my premise would be. So when we say the CDC-led government or the Weah-led government is performing, we are coming from the point that what did George Weah inherit, and that is when George Weah took over, Liberia was at a point where there were little to no growth, to put it succinctly. That means we left from a situation where, like, I left Liberia in 2014, the ending of 2014, when I left Liberia, the US rate was about 70, 71, 72. Up till December of 2017, George Weah became president in January of 2018. Up to that time, the US rate when Madam Sally left was at 135, which means the US, our Liberian currency continuously was being devalued or was losing its strength against the US dollar. So George Weah inherited a double-digit inflation economy. George Weah inherited an economy that was people were losing their jobs, especially those that were in the service sector, because we had United Nations that had thousands of peacekeepers there that were providing jobs for people in the private sector, restaurant businesses, hotel businesses, beaches, and all of these things. There were people employed in those sectors because of the presence of thousands of foreign nationals. In addition to that, we had the from 70 to 135, you had almost like times two, right? Of decline in the value of the Liberian dollar. So with people losing their jobs, the economy was struggling, and all of these factors combined, and George Weah became president. Now, it's not to make excuse for this current government. No, we can, the Liberian people, we cannot take excuses now. But I'm saying this to say, if you want to say Anthony C or anybody is better or is doing better, it means you are measuring them against something. And what is that thing? What is those things that we're measuring George Weah against? We're measuring George Weah against our history, all of his predecessors, right? Okay. So with our economy that was in decline when George Weah took over. In fact, on January 22nd, when George Weah was inaugurated as president of Liberia in 2018, the government monthly, from what I was told, the government monthly payroll at the time was about 28 $28 million or probably $23 million, if my figures are correct, of hair. But the government had less than 60% of that money in for account at the central bank to make payment that very month. So George Weah took over a month. The very month he took over government, they never even had the money available to pay civil servants. That is how devastated the situation was. When George Weah took over Liberia, what was Liberia in terms of road infrastructure? Liberia was a country that Liberia, our total roads are 13,000 kilometers of roads we have in Liberia, our total roads. Out of that 13,000 kilometers of roads we have in Liberia, we got 800 kilometers of road or little over 800 kilometers of road that are paved, which means we have over 12,000 plus, which is probably over 90 or 99%, if I should, 95% of hair, or even more than that, roads that are not paved. That's the Liberia George Weah was inheriting. George Weah was inheriting on Liberia where the JFK, which is our major referral hospital in the country, was broken down. It was dilapidated. It was almost literally abandoned. In fact, the famous name was just for killing. Instead of JFK, people were John F. Kennedy Memorial Hospital, it was just for killing. Okay, and that was the same thing across all of our major hospitals, including the one in Tapita. It was being abandoned and stuff like that. The one in the Weah Hospital in how you call this place, Bunjima, Lofa County, and all of these hospitals, CHU, all the hospitals across the country were experiencing the same thing. The education sector, the previous government, the president also said the education sector was a mess. Liberian students, compared with their West African counterparts, were far underperforming in Liberia when George Weah took over Liberia. Okay, our fishery sector was down, not functional. Our agriculture sector, during the Unity Party time, it's so unfortunate that George Lobbo, anyway, I think that was a wise decision not to show up today. But it is unfortunate that George Lobbo, who have the guts to come here to discuss Unity Party. During the Unity Party era, our agriculture sector, we spent over 300 million in that sector. What happened? That sector was left We could not grow anything. We were importing pepper, billabong, everything from our neighboring countries. Some of them wish we even had better climatic conditions then. Okay, when George Weah left Liberia, he took inherited Liberia rather. He took over our national port authority that was literally a mortgage to the APM terminal, which is a subsidiary or something of Max Land Shipping. Okay, the APM terminal has so much influence to increase rate according to the concession agreement that was signed by Joseph Boakai regime, which George Lobbo comes from. And they were managing all of our fleet services and making money that they were not giving to the Liberian people. When George Weah took over Liberia, we had a situation wherein the education sector, okay, I touched on the education sector, but it's like all of our sectors were down.
All
All of
right.
our
You
down.
just giving your intro, so don't make it too long.
Yeah, so I just try to lay these foundational statements to kind of drive us into where we'll be heading. And,
Thank you.
as we go into detail, I will go and list a lot of things that have been done already and things that are ongoing and things that will be done.
Thank you. Mr. MacCullay right there giving his introductory statement why he believes that on the promises of President Weah, we as a country and people are standing in his word proper strong. He's celebrating that Mr. George Lobbo is not here. I just want to say to you, don't celebrate too early. George Lobbo might just show up and then we're going to have a battle here.
We'll be
And that's
so
what we want.
excited.
And we will be excited to have him. This is what we all agree on, and this is why we are here. But folks in cyberspace, those of you who are friends with Mr. Lobbo, please try to reach out to that brother. We hope that he is okay wherever he is. Usually when we call George Lobbo, he answered the phone. We did multiple times. We didn't get him. We just hope he's okay. He was so excited about this debate, and the debate is here to stay. All right, Mr. Wleh, let's go into the conversation. Let's talk about the economy. The economy is huge. We're not going to touch everything. So as you are aware, we streamline everything. On the economy, let's look at just few policies your party, the CDC, introduced to the Liberian people as a means of trying to halt the economic bleeding, to turn things around and make life a little more comfortable for our people. One of such policy is the harmonization policy. Uh, we heard about multiple pronouncements from the Ministry of Commerce on price control. We also heard so many exchange rate being set by the Central Bank of Liberia in order to minimize, inflation in the country, and many other things that were done too to bring the exchange rate to stability, so that there can be some stability in the economy, also on import and export. So let's start on that front. Do you want to confidently say here that based on the few I talk about as being policy, your government has been able to introduce, you want to say we are standing much better compared to the Ellen Jesse Salley administration? And if so, why? Touching on those things.
Well, to to kind of make that analogy, there are a few things that we got to look at, right?
Okay.
First, let's take it this way. I've listed the country George Weah inherited, the status of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the economy was, some people would say trying to recover and stuff like that, but it was kind of bad. The reality is that the economy was bad. And then when Weah took over, like I stated right away, we had all of those things happening. Now he kind of they took a few months to launch the model policy document for all of those things that you trying to enumerate that
Mm-hmm.
falls under them.
Yeah.
And he had the PAPD, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the PAPD is a model document. And in the PAPD, which is a very ambitious document, the government seeks to reduce poverty to a large extent. Okay, the PAPD capture all of the sectors: security, health, education, agriculture, and all of those different vital sectors. So where we are today, during the early Joseph Sirleaf time, if we should just go by the the so-called way in which we used to measure growth,
Mhm,
which is maybe we say GDP,
mhm,
we might be under the illusion that things was better or so, right?
mhm,
But what are the realities? The reality is we had an economy that was not solid, that had no foundation.
mhm,
That is to say, our economy was depending on the presence, mostly the presence of the uh, the presence of the United Nations peacekeepers in Liberia. Greatly there where our strength were. Okay, and we have few sweet concessionary agreements that came in during that time. Like for example, we had they got this steel giant from India,
mhm.
Asila Metal came in, right? And he
Right.
gave some signing bonuses. We had a prospect that we could have, there was a prospect that Liberia could be an oil producing nation. We had the ExxonMobil, the BHP Billiton, the just name some of the famous name in the oil sector. They came into the country, they provided signature bonuses and stuff to the government. So we're celebrating, we're having party, and and forgetting about our future. So we're having party, forgetting that there is a tomorrow. All of
And,
those
and,
money were coming in.
and
All
quickly,
of those
Mr.
money.
Wleh, if I may, who attracted those concession agreement you just enumerated?
So Liberia attracted those concessions agreement are enumerated based on the fact that we came from war and
Mhm,
Liberia were looking like a virgin land, right? So
mhm,
we had all of those things. The interim government started the foundation of a lot of those concession agreement, and then subsequently the Sirleaf government continued those agreements. Because if you remember, before the Sirleaf government came in, we had the GMAP, right? The Government Economic Management Assistance Program already in place.
mhm,
So when all of those things were happening, we actually were just celebrating and not building a structural economy that could resist whatsoever temptation that could happen on the international scene and stuff like that to increase our GDP, our national capacity to produce goods and services that we needed. So what that did was people thought that Liberia was okay to some extent, and very few people were enjoying and those kinds of things. So
mhm,
we never invested in the agriculture sector, or we invested and we did not get any good output from our investment. We never invested in the health sector. We were tested when the Ebola came and we saw what happened. We knew that we never had a health sector. We never invested heavily in the educational sector because we saw exactly how our students were performing in the Y testing and how the president was saying how to come out and say our educational system was a mess. We never invested in a lot of sectors, right? So then there came Judgment Day when the United Nations, which eventually Ellen being a veteran and stuff like that, and having some of the best brains of Liberians from around the world, at least you have predicted that all of these things will happen. That one day United Nations will decide to leave from Liberia. If United Nations are spending over 350 million annually in the Liberian economy, leaving, it means that you have such a huge amount of money besides the over 9 point some billion dollars that our international partner invested in the country. So when those people are preparing to leave Liberia, we had absolutely nothing to stand on. No agriculture sector, everything. United Nations provided thousands of jobs. Those jobs were disappearing. Those people who could not absorb them into the private sector and stuff like that. So right away, when the United Nations started pulling the people gradually from after the Ebola situation, we saw that the US rate kept inflation kept getting bad and bad and bad. And up to the time when I said he left, like I said in 2014 when I left Liberia, the US rate was 70 and it went as far as 135 to a dollar by 2027 December or January of 2018 when Madam Sirleaf turned over the mantle of authority to George Weah. So with that understanding, I hope people can come with open mind. I hope people can come to the discussion with open mind, with that understanding, with what George Weah inherited of economy with no structure. So what did George Weah have to do? George Weah had to what? Think about how can we start to build a structure. That's how when they created the PAPD. So if you want to talk about economic growth and all of those things, there are a few things that you got to have in place. You need electricity, reliable and cheap electricity. Energy, without reliable and cheap energy, you cannot have a sustainable economy. Okay. You need skilled labor. Without skilled labor, you cannot have a sustainable economy. Okay. And you need security. You need almost everything that Liberia was lacking to have a sustainable economy. So George Weah right away went aggressively and he started to see how best we can delve into investing into some of this sector. So as we speak today, you and I, George Weah is so focused on making sure that the energy sector of Liberia can become sustainable so we can have light manufacturing and other things happening. So today, as we speak, I was just reading from the Transco project. That is the SLLG project, the Liberia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, and Cote d'Ivoire project that will be bringing over 200 megawatt of electricity into Liberia. Okay, that project I am told by July they will be done with a transformer in Nimba County and other counties. So that project is going to increase greatly, more than double our energy capacity right now because the hydro is somewhere around 80 plus megawatt, and during the dry season it reduces. Okay, so that project is going to increase our energy output. Then beyond that, as we speak, the government is constructing a mini dam in Lofa County.
Mr.
Okay,
Wleh,
that is in Oya area.
Mr. Wleh,
Then you go, yeah.
I don't want to disrupt your thought, but we have a section for projects. So
Yeah.
anything related to project, keep it. Let do as we plan. All right. So we wanted you to talk on harmonization. We wanted you to talk about price control. We wanted you to talk about exchange rate and
Okay.
importation in this segment.
All right, no
So
problem. I will go by your rules. So
yeah.
you know, economic things are kind of interrelated. They are interdependent. They depend on one another. So if we go into the whole harmonization exercise, when George Weah took over, which of course, like I said, I worked in the government for a few years, there were discrepancies. People with the same education, the same years of experience, the same everything, but there were discrepancies or there were differences in how they were being paid. For example, Anthony C.A. got a bachelor's degree from the University of Liberia in this year. I started working the same year, probably the same month as MacCullay Wleh. But MacCullay Wleh being close to the minister at this ministry. The minister, I am working there as his secretary. He started to pay MacCullay Wleh $3,000 a month. When Sonny here with the same qualification, same years of experience as MacCullay Wleh is making what? $700 in another ministry. That is unfair. You and I live in the US. I see right here across Minnesota, I see how standardized they pay the payer in Minnesota, for example. Then you go to drivers. Do you know that some drivers were making more than other people who were far educated, far experienced? It was the only thing was depending on it depends on how or who you knew, rather, who you knew at the time. And then that's how your pay were, which is wrong. During the Manasali period, our international community, the IMF, the World Bank, all of them, they were pressurizing the government that this is not sustainable. You got to harmonize, you got to standardize the civil servant salary. Manasali government, they were kind of dragging and dragging and dragging because they knew it was a tedious process and they left it like that. George Weah government came and they went in under 2 years. They were able to, at least to a large extent, it might not be perfect, but to a greater extent to the satisfaction of our international partners, they were able to harmonize and standardize the civil servant payroll. And that
And
exercise saved
Mr. Red,
tens of millions of dollars.
all right, thank you again. To the best of your knowledge on the harmonization, has the process been completed now? Is everything standardized?
Oh yeah, the harmonization, people have already been paid based on the harmonized wage.
Mhm.
People have been paid already. To the best of my knowledge, I know people have been paid already based on the harmonization stuff.
And so does that mean that going forward, no official of government will be deciding how much an employee should be paid? There is a standard now set, on the civil servant level and also going to the government official level. Is that something? Do you know that the government has been able to craft that citizens can be able to lay their hands on, so that when somebody is employed, they can reference it? Oh, I got employed as a secretary based on the fact I'm a secretary to the minister. This is why I'm going to make. Is that standard being put into place now?
Yes, yes, you said it right. That is
Okay.
exactly what is happening now. If you are being hired, which of course, in fact, what the government has done also that calls for commendation is the government right now as we speak. I don't know if that would be the right choice of word, but excuse my probably if I don't use the right choice of word. But the government has frozen
Mhm.
additional employment into the civil service, or they have centralized, which that is how it should have been. But instead, the previous government, they left it to every ministry, every agency. People were just hiring like that and were just going through the scam civil servant approval exercise. So that's why you saw the government. Can you imagine in 2009, our payroll was around $100 million. But by 2017, when Malasedi left, it went to over $280 million. Can you
Oh,
imagine that? Because people were just hiring like that. But this government now said, no, it can't be like that. We got to centralize it. So now, if you want to work for government, you have to go through the civil service agency, apply, take the civil service test, and meet all of the requirements before you are hired. And the government should
and
have
and and
availability there and the capacity to pay you before you are hired.
and Mr. Wleh, what you just said is important. Is this something? Do you know for a fact that this government is doing? Because, like you said, every Liberian will want that. But what we also saw, and people being able to confirm, is the fact that at some point, Chairman Mamba Molu was sending recommendation, sending individual names to just about any ministry to be hired. So that is something that is completely far from the policy that government has been implementing that you explain about. And also talk about the fact that there are many people that complain about the harmonization was cutting their pay. So explain to all what that meant. Why were people saying that?
Oh yes, the harmonization exercise actually it was not meant to please the upper class. Okay, it
Okay.
was meant to one have a standardized pay for every position.
Mhm.
Two, to at least elevate the lower echelon of the payroll. So you saw there were a lot of people like immigration officers who saw a major increase in their monthly income. In fact, sorry, maybe off here I might not, but there were over 10 or 15,000 persons that saw an increase in their income. And there were majority of the people who did not really see any impact on their income. But more besides, those people that you will see that were complaining mostly, for example, look at Liberia, a struggling country like ours. You have people, for example, somebody making over $20,000 US per month is entitled to over 2,000 gallons of gasoline. After you pay that man over $20,000 US per month, then you give that man over 2,000 gallons of gasoline. What kind of car is he riding? What generator is he running at home? That 2,000 gallons, if you put it in monetary value, that is over. When I was there, gasoline was about $3 plus. That was over $6,000 again. Besides that $22,000 you pay in that man. People were making 15,000, 10,000, and this government said no. This is a struggling country. Public service should be about sacrifice to your country. It should not be about enriching yourself. So what the government did was no. Now, no minister is going to make over, from what I am told, over 7,800 per month. So those that were making 15,000, yes, obviously it means that the income were coming down. If you are a secretary and you are making $3,000 a month, while other secretaries across government were making $700-800 per month, the government in some cases came and found, oh, okay, if you are secretary, you get this qualification XYZ, maybe you make $1,000 or 1,200 or 750, and that will
Mr.
be across the board. So
Mr.
such
Wleh,
people will complain that the
yeah,
income was being reduced.
Mr.
That's the
Wleh,
exercise.
yeah, quickly, Mr. Wleh. So, what is the measure, or even like measures that have been put into place to safeguard this, in my opinion, could not be sustainable for the Liberian government? I think we can all agree on that. You know, the fabulous salaries we heard about, the too much of incentives and allowances for government officials. From what I'm hearing from you, many of these things have either been cut off or cut down. So are there measures being put into place now so that we will not have to go back to that which had not been sustainable for our country? Do you know?
Yeah, so you know that the harmonization process was not just the government came or the president just woke up one morning and did it on his own. It was a process that went through the national legislature, right? So it becomes a legal process. Okay. Well, it means that does not mean that it cannot be undone, right? Future government, it left with the Liberian people to ensure that no, we don't go back to where we were yesterday. We don't go back to where people were just making some insane amount of money in a struggling country like ours. Okay, so basically,
Mhm.
it is a legal document. All right, but I cannot say, yeah, I cannot give you the assurance, especially being somebody that worked with the legislature before. I know that yes, another government could come and use the very same legislature and undo all of those great things that have been done. So yes, we got it is a legal paper, but also it left for the future government.
Thank you. Again, folks, in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, your host, Anthony CA. Today is a special debate on the Hour of Politics between ruling position and opposition. Representing ruling position is Mr. MacCullay Wleh. We have also invited Mr. Josh P. Lobbo to represent the opposition bloc. For some reason, we do not have Josh Lobbo up to news time, but the debates must continue. We are just hoping Mr. Lobbo is okay wherever he is. To be fair to Mr. Lobbo, anytime we call him, he usually answers the phone. He was excited about this debate, and so we are hoping that he will join sometime during the broadcast. All right, let's come to something very important: price control. I have been monitoring prices during the early time, and also I monitor prices during early time, and I monitor prices since President Weah took over. My conclusion is that the prices have gone up under President Weah when you compare that, or when you compare those with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. What has happened? And at some point, you are aware, your government or our government as a country release a laundry list, of basic commodities, and despite the process they said, people who are making business say no, it can't hold, and so everybody sell as they please it. So what's going on? Is there a price control under this government?
No, CA, so thank God I'm grateful to God I've been blessed to, like I told you when I was introducing myself, that I ran a clearing and forwarding firm in Liberia for many years, and so I know about
Mhm,
that sector. So
mhm,
let me say this: a nation that cannot feed itself or cannot provide for
mhm,
herself will always
mhm.
be affected by the global. Even if you can provide for yourself, you'll still be affected by happenings on the global stage. But to a larger extent, the impact will be highly felt if you are so reliant on importation of everything you consume. So in
Right.
Liberia, for example, if the government decides to say, okay, we will cut off tariff on certain commodities, that does not mean the man in China or the man in America that that person is importing the goods from is going to hold to that standard to say, okay, my goods, I will continue to sell my goods $5. If the man increases the price of his goods from 5 to 6 to $10, that is the price that that importer is going to buy it for. He is going to affect the Liberian market. But more besides that, the reality is now in Liberia, we say we don't have a socialist economy, right?
Mm,
We have
mhm.
we have what we call mixed economy. Largely, people will say we are leaning to the capitalistic side. In a free market system, prices are determined by by several market factors, which is supply and demand. Okay, so we rely on competition to determine the price of commodity. That's the reason why one good thing this government have done is to lift up monopoly over a lot of essential goods. You know, because when you have monopoly in the economy, then that person, that sole distributor of that particular commodity determines what they sell the price, what they sell that particular goods. But if you have a free market economy where there's no body having absolute control over a specific commodity, then competition will kind of affect price. Because if Sonny CA and myself are importers of cars, for example, since most Liberians in America always send cars back home. If I took a 2024 Explorer to Liberia and you took the same car, another Dennis Jar took that same car, three of us took the car. Now we are competing. You want to sell that car, I want to sell my car. Dennis Jar wants to sell his car, right? Okay.
Okay.
So now competition will be what will determine, especially it depends too on the demand because it's all about, like I stated initially, demand and supply. So if there's a high demand for that car, then maybe all of us might be lucky to sell it at a very high value. But if there's a lower demand because a lot of people cannot afford that car, then what is going to happen now? We're going to compete for that very little space for the less demand that the market has. So based upon that less demand now, Sony CA is going to say, okay, this is my car. I'm not going to sell it 20,000. I'm going to sell it 17,000. My colleague will now could say, oh no, I will still maintain my $20,000, and and stuff like that. So the government cannot decide the prices. The government allow the market, all of the forces affecting the market to decide price. So that is what is happening. Like
All right.
before, I remember years back, the Ministry of Commerce. If you
Mhm,
talk to anybody that worked with the Ministry of Commerce before, they will tell you we had the price analysis division. That division used to what decide, oh, this person bring their goods. Okay, maybe when this man brought his goods to the country, the goods was the good was he spent like on the CIF, the cost, insurance, and freight, right? That is to
mhm.
export the goods to Liberia from abroad. Then they say, okay, my man, see the goods here, you're going to sell it for this amount of price because what? They look at your cost, your insurance, and your freight. The freight is the transportation right from the country you bought the goods from to the next country. And then, based upon the CIF, what I remember they used to do, they will add 22%. So you add multiply 22% plus equal. So if I bought this good $100 somewhere, right? Then they will say, well, they multiply that $100 by 22% and plus equal. When you do 22% times 100 plus equal, you what? $122, right? Then they tell
All
you,
right.
Sonny say we want you to sell that good for $122.
All right, Mr.
So you
Weah.
getting the logic?
I get the login, and I had a follow-up question, but let's hold it there for now. We have your comrade, Mr. Lobbo, just joined us in studio. Mr. Lobbo, we have been very concerned about you. We know you are a gentleman who you don't compromise time, and so we decided to hold you by that standard. We were a little concerned. Thank God you are here. We are happy to have you. As always, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Anthony, thank you very much. Let me take this time first and foremost to sincerely apologize to all the fans and my fellow Liberians. Like you said, I have never had a history of this. I miscalculated the time, and I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, want to apologize to all of you who have tuned in today and expected to have seen me here. It's unfortunate that I let you down. I hope that this is never repeated. I apologize, and to my dear friend and brother, I also want to apologize to you that I kept you waiting. I should have been here ever since. I'm sorry. Please, I ask for your forgiveness. This will never be repeated. I just want you to know that I am sorry for keeping you here. This was a fruitful discussion that I look forward to us. I apologize to all of you, but I'm glad to be here. And I want to appeal to you. I hope you can give 30 minutes extra at least so we can be able to make up. I know it's not your fault. It's my own negligence, but I hope so we can dive into a lot of issues here today.
All right, Mr. Lobbo, we again are happy to have you. I think Mr. Wleh is prepared. It's a day off, and he came prepared for this debate, no matter how long it may take. We are glad to have you. And so quickly, the man George Lobbo, representing the opposition bloc, he's a member of the Unity Party. He is the host of The Drive. He's here to go into the conversation, and we are discussing, are we standing or stranded on the promises of President Weah? And you told us not only are we stranded, actually we are dying, according to your own words. Why you, George Lobbo, have to say that we are dying?
Before I begin, let me take this time first and foremost, Anthony, to express my heartfelt condolence and sympathy to all the families, friends, loved ones, and relatives around the world who have been hit by this epidemic, this coronavirus. Thousands and thousands of lives have been lost. And I wanted to take this opportunity to first and foremost acknowledge that and express my condolences to all those families and the different governments that are fighting towards addressing this problem. And I also want to take this time to express my concern and my word of support to all Liberians who have been affected by this virus. We know that there have been Liberians who have been laid off. Some have been furloughed. I want you to know that whatever that have happened to you as a result of this epidemic, I want you to know that you are not alone. I stand with you. And I want to use this medium to call on all Liberians to extend our kindness, our hand of gratitude to all those people so that we can be able to get through this together. I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I wanted to say that whatever it is, it shall pass. Be strong and we'll get over this. Now, let me answer the question of whether we are stranded. For me, Anthony, we are not stranded. When you are stranded, it means you are stuck in a position that there's a means for you to get out of. But maybe that means does not seem to exist at that present moment. So you can't make your way out of it. But I used the word the other day and I said we are dying simply because our people are not only struggling. They have gone 2 years under the leadership of Ambassador George Weah with no hope, extreme poverty, increased hardship, unforeseen circumstances. Anthony, people are dying at various hospitals across the country, lack of basic medical utensils, or supplies, as we would term it. People die at Phoebe because of the lack of oxygen. So technically they are not stranded, because if they are stranded, it means they were doing a surgery and the generator went off. But Phoebe have been without electricity now for how long? All parts of the country. Our people are struggling. We've seen cases from here and there, all across Liberia, Liberians waking up with no hope under this government. Even those who work in government, we've seen a wage harmonization, which has reduced their income. Liberians do not have the potential to earn wages as a result of this government field policy. So I say we are dying. It's just a matter of time on how fast we'll get there, but that's where we are heading to.
Thank you. George Lobbo there giving his opening statement on this debate, or in this debate on the topic, are we standing or are we stranded? And he's saying we are dying and not even stranded. All right, George, Mr. Wleh is ahead of you. The segment we were on and you came in is the economy. And as you are aware, we are looking at 4 major areas on the economy. We can discuss the economy in totality. We are looking at harmonization. We are looking at price control. We are looking at the exchange rate. And we are also looking at import and export. And Mr. Weah, according to an expose, if I can paraphrase him, he said, all is not bread and butter, but the necessary changes have been made by this government. And we are getting there, if I can paraphrase him. Where do you stand on those issues?
Anthony, I know I was not here when he spoke, but before I begin to talk about those sectors, what I would like to do is to take an opportunity to ask my brother for one thing. You know, Anthony, to be able to acknowledge government progress, you must first and foremost highlight what the government was giving. What the government inherited will be able to set the basis upon which we can have this dialogue so our people can understand. And so I will ask your indulgence if I could take this time to, at least before I begin to deliberate on this question, here's what I would say. I will ask him a question at the end of my statement on this. Anthony, the 4 areas you name, I will take them apart one by one. Let's look at export. When we look at export, what did the government say? We must not forget during the inauguration, President George Weah told the Liberian people that they would not be spectators in their own economy. What we thought was Liberians would be involved in most of the businesses. Small microfinancing loan programs will go towards Liberians. I hope Mr. Wleh will tell us today which Liberian group that the LBDI gave its financing program to. And I hope he will also be able to help us understand which one of the Liberian group the government gave exclusive right to export cocoa to. I would like to hear that. At the last time I checked, I do not know of a Liberian who have been certified or licensed to import cement. When it comes to export, Anthony, we don't have to sit here and lie about these things. All you need to do is you look at the economy, because the Liberian economy has been heavily based on export. That is the type of economy we've had in Liberia. So the reason why we continue to record some of the largest budget shortfalls since independence under the CDC government, it is clear that export is down. We know that before the Unity Party-led government left, part of the reason for its own budget shortfall in the tune of 35 to 40 million was a result of export decline on our 2 major exporting commodities, the iron ore and rubber. And under this government, I hope, Anthony, you can be able to help us. We learned recently that Firestone was no longer going to be purchasing rubber from local farmers. So in terms of export, I am yet to hear what the government have done, which agriculture initiative the government have invested in, because the last time I checked, looking at the government budget, there's something called PSR, private sector investment. Nothing was allocated in the budget. I hope my brother will be able to inform us what was allocated to PSR in the budget for that, and name us some of those agricultural activities that would drive that export, because we have been heavily asking the government to diversify the economy through the agricultural sector, the tourism sector, and other major sectors. So I hope my dear friend and brother will be able to assist us there. But let me go to something you talk about, the exchange rate. I hope again that my brother will be able to also help us today to tell the Liberian people what was the exchange rate when President George Weah took office, and also be able to tell us what happened, how the rate went up to 170 and above as we speak today. And when it comes to the overall economy itself, Anthony, you don't have to take my words. Our IMF, World Bank have made it very clear. Last year, in 2018, the CDC-led government, the economy grew at 1.9%. Last year, growth was forecast at 0.4%. It was first forecast at 0.47%, but then the IMF came back and reduced it to 0.4%. So for us to sit here today and be discussing productivity or growth within the economy, all we need to do is to read the science and listen to the experts and see where things are. You talk about harmonization as a matter of fact. Now let's look at harmonization from an economic standpoint. What does that mean? Harmonization is itself, it comes from part of the austerity measure. Austerity is not something that grow any economy in the modern 21st century, because austerities are cutting measures. So when you initiate austerities, you want to cut down costs. But what happened with this government that makes it so interesting is that answer. Nowhere in the world of any economy that I know that people cut people's income in a slow economy with high inflation. Inflation sitting at 33%. If you did that, it's like saying, Anthony, the man who was making 300 yesterday, today, because inflation is at 33%, let's just take a simple math and say his 300 is worth $233. So if you cut his 300, now what you're trying to do to him, you are definitely trying to kill him. And that is what happened with the wage harmonization. Not only that, since the wage harmonization was initiated, Liberians have not been getting paid on time. Don't take my words again, Anthony. It has been stated that consumer spending in the Republic of Liberia is down. Consumers' confidence within the banking sector is down. No Liberian trust the government. The financial institutions lack credibility. So there's no predatory lending going on. The government is struggling. 2-3 months ago, banks were liquidated in Liberia. ATMs were eating people's debit cards. So we can't sit here and lie. But I want to say one thing tonight. To all you Liberians that are listening to us, and I will ask, I know I came in late, but I want to say this. Credibility, integrity is important to what we say here today. And I hope when we speak here today, we will have dossiers to provide for public perusal. We will have the facts so that we can be able to justify our arguments here. And when it comes to cutting wasteful spending, I'm intending to display the government budget. I do have that. I have the government's own policy papers, and I'm going to be able to show to the Liberian people how wicked, how corrupt, how terrible this government has been performing. And that is where I will stop to give my brother a chance.
All right, thank you. Before we can bring MacCullay in to respond to the whole package you just threw out there, the harmonization policy, I have a question. And because you asked question on the rest of the items, let me ask, your government, the Unity Party government, had the opportunity to cut down the huge salaries and allowances that were made available by her in that government. Your government, the Unity Party government, did not do so. And so when President Weah kicked in, even the development partners said, hey, your wage bill is huge, something you, George Lobbo, talk about consistently, that when your wage bill exceeds the other component of the economy, then you will not experience growth. So there's an agreement there, but your government could not do that. What stopped your government from putting into place those cutting that were necessary to help balance the budget?
All right, Anthony, thank you for that question.
Yeah.
You see, in the 21st century, when you hire professional people, right? The Ellen Johnson Sirleaf UP-led government, we did not complain of that of the wage bill. Let's be honest here today. The Unity Party government did not record no budget shortfall until after the Ebola epidemic. That's one thing. In 2013, when we saw a very huge decline in economic growth in our country, we recorded budget shortfall in 2014, 15, 16. And Madam Sirleaf also told the world and told the Liberian people that part of the reason for the drop in revenue, which led to the budget shortfall, was because our two major export commodities price have dropped on the international market. The reason why when you talk about the Unity Party, the wage bill was high. Anthony, it is true that I've always said that income inequality in Liberia have been something that I'm very concerned about. Now, when you hire professional people, you have to be able to pay them. If you believe that you want to tackle corruption, like the Unity Party-led government was required to do, given the programs we had to, the HIPIC initiative to get the debt waiver bill. So most of the people that came to work for the government in the first stage were not paid by UP. If you remember, the likes of John Molu was not paid by the Liberian government. All right. Let's look at Dr. Antoinette Sai. She was not paid by the government. Let's look at Kessley at Maritime. He was not paid by the government. But people were not informed about these things. Now you took Dr. Antoinette Sai from the World Bank to Liberia to help us stabilize the economy. What were you going to pay her? How could you convince competent Liberians that you can come back home to help in the rebuilding process? And when you took Dr. King to Liberia, what will you pay her? So our problem was not the wage bill or Anthony. Liberia, with all the Unity Party wage bill, we did very well doing our economic task. People did not complain. People got paid on time. We did not harmonize wages. So the notion that CDC want to tell us that they have to cut people's income to survive, that in itself tells you that the government lacked the ability to generate income because
George,
we were able to do it.
George,
but let's look at the wage bill.
George,
our
hold on,
wage
George.
bill was 200. Let me finish okay. This point.
Yeah.
Our wage bill was 296 million, right? That was our wage bill. Now, if you agree that our wage bill was huge, was wasteful, then why were your wage bill, when you coming after us, your first wage bill is 326 million. So you telling us our wage bill was huge, but your wage bill was 326 million. That is when the World Bank said, no. Your wage bill is huge. The World Bank didn't complain about the Unity Party wage bill. We have the document. Can you show me?
All right, Josh, thank you. I want to ask a question, but that will delay MacCullay further. Mr. Weah, quickly, you just listening to Mr. Lobbo in his opening statement. Any rebuttal, and after your rebuttal, you have to ask your question quickly.
Yeah, so there, sometimes our people get a common saying and say, when you go late, I know you can't stand out to get testimony. And,
what does that mean?
That is to say, Lobbo came in and he missed a lot of things that he missed the foundational statement of mine. Mm-hmm. And where I talk about exactly what the government, what George Weah was given. Mm-hmm. So actually, if he was around, he was going to understand my premise, right. what George Weah was given. I talk about all of the sectors, most of the sector, if not. And but there are a lot of things he spoke about. And even with the last statement, I don't know if George Lobbo was paying attention during the Joseph Boakai reign of 12 years, or he was kind of living somewhere else. To sit here, I was with the legislature as a research person at the time. To sit here and say the international partners never mentioned anything about the Unity Party wage bill, then that is sorry, excuse me, I'm trying to be a little professional. That is a lie. That is a complete lie. Our international partners maybe George is not aware, in 2009, our wage bill was about $100 million. When it started to increase from 100 million, it went to by 2011, our wage bill was 200 and I mean, I remember the exactly, but when Ellen left, our wage bill was, like he put it rightly, 296 million, right? Our international
No. Point of correction. Don't misquote me. 296.
But what I said, 296.
That's what he just said.
Lord.
Yeah.
I thought I heard it right. Sorry. Go for it.
No. Yeah. So listen attentively then. So our wage bill, can you imagine how we have over 250% increase right there? Almost 300% increase in our wage bill. Our international partners came. I remember in 2011, the IMF, they recommended to the government that this is not sustainable. They projected that United Nations will be leaving Liberia. If United Nations leaves Liberia, you're going to have over 350 million to 500 million disappearing from the Liberian economy. It will be a great hit. If the government refuses to do things differently, we will run into a recession. All of those recommendations were at the legislature. So maybe Lobbo, I don't know what he was doing that time, actually, to be honest. Maybe he was somewhere having fun or something and was not paying attention, but I was involved. I was not able to pay attention, but I was involved because I was with the legislature at the time. And even Madam Selig herself, when the government started to accept, Madam Selig herself came on and told the Liberian people that Liberians, your tie, your waist, the hard time coming, the hard time are coming enough for fun. I don't know where was Lobbo when all of these statements were being made. Or Lobbo, where were you when Joseph Boakai that you supported today were getting over $1 million annually during this time? What children in Liberia were dying at our various health sectors across the country? Children were without school. People were starving. And during that time that Lobbo making reference to, like I stated prior to his coming, our partners invested $300+ million in the Liberian agriculture sector alone. Ask Lobbo, who was still going to Gambia buying Grampy, going to Guinea buying pepper, going to China, Taiwan, all the places buying rice. And Lobbo got the guts to come here and sit here to talk, to defend the Joseph Boakai Unity Party. It's disgusting, it is heartening. It's unfair to the Liberian people. That is highly inflammatory for Lobbo to come here today. I expect somebody probably that have not been tested, like the ANC or some opposition, to come here and sit and talk about all of these things that we're talking about, but not somebody from the Unity Party that missed every opportunity that Liberia had. When Ellie took over, Liberia was like a virgin. You have people who are making low income, and all of those things, people several times were making $20 and all of those things. When they came, and we had a huge spike in our revenue capacity. All we did was, instead of all investing to build a structural economy, what we did was we started to go on fanfare. Ministers were going on taking legislators were taking $500 for GSA when they traveled. Ministers were riding business class, sleeping in the best hotel. When they come to the United Nations General Assembly, they would spend sometimes over $15,000 for a single suite and all of these things. That was doing Joseph Boakai's time. And he spoke about the whole wage harmonization. No, but there's something economics because circular flow. I guess I know you're not an economist though, or you're not from that background. Okay. And my first degree was I got a bachelor in economics. So let me tell you about the circular flow. The circular flow is how much, for example, how much can a dollar circulate in your community? For example, if you living in Liberia, how much it takes for a dollar to circulate in Liberia? Okay, I will tell you that it takes almost less than, if we would take the dollar per minute, it would say 100, it would take probably a dollar to circulate in Liberia for less than a minute. Because why? The truth is, everything we live by comes from abroad. So when you guys have all of the opportunity, the signature fee from Asylum Metal, BHP Billiton, ExxonMobil, all of those signature fees, instead of giving people fabulous life, or very few, minute few that were closer to the power that be at the time, instead of giving them all of those fabulous lives. If we're going to structure our economy, focus on energy. To the extent here, you know, there are a lot of things here to talk about that I am so passionate about. This guy spent over about $1 billion in our energy sector, but they left with less than 5% of the Liberian people having access to electricity. Can you get the logic of this? And the guy, they still have the courage to come here and ask the Liberian people that they want power back? That is disgusting. You talk about the exchange rate. When Madasedi left in 2018, January, the exchange rate was at what? 135, Lobbo. What were you?
125.
No, 135. What are you talking? Were you not following? 135 was the exchange rate. Okay, when I left Liberia, the exchange rate in I've always go back, but I told you when I moved over initially 2014, before I went back later. Global one like what even in 2016, you know what the exchange rate was? But that made progress. The exchange rate when Manaseli were in 2014, I left the exchange rate at about 70, 71, 72. When Manaseli left at 135, which is almost 100% increase in the exchange rate. We already had a double-digit inflation when Manaseli left Liberia. It's a fact. You are aware of the fact. So it's not like Liberia had a single-digit inflation and George reacting, bam, the inflation spike. When you have challenges, economic challenges, even in a structural economy like the America or most of the Western countries, it is difficult to kind of restructure things and get the economy going. Especially like in Liberia, that you had no structure. The only reason why some of those things that you're talking about, we should make reference to, the only reasons why those things were happening was because we had United Nations there. In that sector, like I talked about before you came, in the tourism sector, like for example, hotels had a lot of people that were being employed, beaches, service sectors, you know, a lot of different sectors were booming because we had about $500 million going to Liberia annually because of the presence of the United Nations. And beyond that, we have tens of INGO, international non-governmental organizations operating in Liberia during that time. In addition to that, we had different international groupings that were in Liberia carrying on different projects. So Liberia were receiving over $1 billion every year during that time. You know what that means for a small economy like ours? If the elect of Joseph Boakai was a visionary leader, it means today, before George Weah took over, we're going to have what? At least a significant portion of Liberian people having access to electricity. At least we're going to have a significant portion of Liberian people in the private sector. At least we're going to have, if not all or most of our staple food like rice. We eat a lot of pepper, we eat a lot of bela buckets, and we're going to be self-sufficient to a large extent before George Weah took over. There's some of the things we're talking about today, we're not even be talking about it. But George Weah took over an economy where you rightfully place it. The Madaseli acknowledged that we were losing so much revenue because we're our major reliant product. We still been depending on iron ore, rubber since 1942. What's his name time? Wleh via Stockman time. We still depending on rubber and iron ore. When George Weah left, Madaseli left a completely extractive, dependent economy. And those economies are not sustainable. On the African continent, 60% or more of the labor force depend on agriculture. In Liberia, what was left? Absolutely nothing. Look at our fishery sector. Today, under this government, we are discussing right now as we speak to be able to export fish to Europe and other parts of the world. What did you guys do? 12 years. 12 years. Nothing. Joseph Boakai left local county his hometown. You know, there are a lot of things that we can talk about here. There are a lot of things we can talk about. But
Mr. Weah, I think,
you know, especially listening to Unity Party people, it kind of, it's to some extent irritating, man. That's unfair to the Liberian people. I think they messed up our best shot we ever had for 12 unbroken years. 12 years.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wleh. George, you just listening to a rebuttal from Mr. Wleh right there. And, in his concluding statement, he said, that was the best shot ever in our nation's history. You have United Nations, you have all the huge concessions agreement ongoing into the country. Liberia was receiving around $1 billion a year. Out of a sudden, Ellen administration is over, boom, that is taken away. We were already on a downward spiral. There was budget shuffle after budget shuffle, something you acknowledge, or make him out of the way. And so, don't you think it was reasonable or logical to say that, yeah, that budget shortfall needed to continue? Not that was anybody's wish, but we were on that downward spiral anyway. And so, with that huge chunk of money taken away, I mean, it was something expected, isn't it? And then also, he talked about a budget increase, because when Ellen took over, the budget was less, and then it started going on and on and on until at a certain point it reached up to, it was increased by 100%. He said, he talked about the same exchange rate. We were on the increase. The exchange rate continued to go up and up and up until up to the time Ellen left office. You compared it to when she left office, it was a 100% increase. Joseph Boakai, a man that you support, Ambassador Boakai, was earning around $1 million. That was the amount being allotted to him for over a period of 12 years. And okay. So, can you respond to all of that?
First and foremost, Anthony, before I respond, like I said when I came on here, when I discuss national government, I don't ask for people's emotion, people's sentiments. I want my brother to at least share with us some of the statements he made. He said that the IMF and the World Bank, they came in 2011 and they acknowledged the wage bill. Can you make some of those documentations available? Because I recalled when he was on here, he said he was going to come here to present the facts. And if what you just rumble about just now is the facts, then I'm sorry for the future of Liberia. Because it is, let me finish, my friend. You spoke, I was very polite. I want you to know that. So when it's my time to speak, let's be disciplined and be civil. All right? So let me say this to you again. Anthony, I will advise the brother to do us a favor. He spoke of billions of dollars we receive every year. Anthony, it is so mind-baffling. I would like to ask the brother if he listened to the President's State of the Union address recently, because I have it. When you come to this discourse and you want to speak as an intellectual, one thing you must do, you must present evidence. Anthony, the brother said that over 1 billion was spent on the energy sector. Is that correct?
He's yet.
No, I want to ask you because you're the moderator. Is that right? Is that what he said? Because I know what he said. He said over 1 billion was spent on the energy sector in 12 years. Now let me help the brother again. I asked you earlier today to state the facts. I don't have the time to be going back and forth. I have to be helping you for us to discuss the issue. Anthony, I sent you something to your messenger. Can you share it with the public and see what the cost was for the hydro? Liberia largest power plant, see what the cost is. It's at $360 million. So how is it that we spend $1 billion on the energy sector? You see, when people come to sit there and drive their emotions and lie to the people, I find it embarrassing that you will come here and sit with this confidence and spill out lies like this. Can you share it, Anthony? Go to your messenger. I send you something. I want you to publish it, let the Liberian people read so they know the type of young intellectuals they have. People who will come and rumble with misleading information. But I will do you a favor, sir. Since your own World Bank statement, it didn't come, you don't have the date when that statement was made. Mine, I do have the date. And I will definitely present the facts. Anthony, here is it from the World Bank country representative, Mr. Bouquet. If you want to check for the records, it was published April 8, 2019. So me, my own, that they came and said, I don't speak in tones. And the World Bank made it very clear about the wage bill. Listen to what the World Bank says, sir. If you believe the Unity Party government didn't do that, I'll read something for you. According to the World Bank, the country's economist, Daniel Bouquet, the main drivers for inflation in the Liberian fiscal pressure caused by continual revenue deficit. Now, you claim to be an economist. When you take over government, right, as smart as some of you who claim to be, knowing that the government had recorded budget shortfall previously, the first 3 years, when you come, what do? Do you increase? Please go up, go all the way down to the second part. I think the money is there so you can see the cost. Is that 1 billion? So what I will be doing, I will be marking the number of lies you have told before I leave. So let's move on. That's one. So in the energy sector, what he did here was to spill out gibberish, talking points, and lie with no remorse. Let's proceed. Now, let me continue my point, Anthony. If you can recall, on the Bourgeois Island, I'm glad, like he said, I was late, which I tried to give him credit for. But I was in Monrovia in 2006, just for your information. I lived opposite the Capitol building. The Republic was in total darkness. I know you went around spewing your original talking points about what you people inherited. It is true that I was not here, so it was easier for you to go on just misinforming our people, lying. But I will tell you now that I'm sitting here, if you have the privilege to every sector you discuss, to talk about what you inherited, I would greatly appreciate it for you. Moving forward, when you're answering any question, please state what you inherited and what you've done to make it better. Because number one, it is sad to see a government or surrogate or trying to defend the government position as repeating mistakes of the past. Anthony, I will ask my brother in his next rebuttal to please tell the Liberian people today, what was Liberia like in 2005 and 2006? I'm glad he alluded in his own statement that when the Unity Party government came to power, Anthony, he said 7 were making $20. And if you work at the Capitol building and you are making $20, can a man feed his family on $20? Is that what you expected us to do to make the people's life better? The reason why more young people during the Unity Party government today earn wealth, own homes, were able to travel, were able to call people in America and say, I want to send you money to buy me a car, is because of the income they were earning during the UP government. And that is what government is supposed to do. When you take over a country, you create wealth by empowering people. Those who were working, they got paid on time, they got paid well, they were able to invest. Many young people built homes, many young people had normal, decent life. That is what every government should do. You know, it is so mind-baffling that an economist will sit here and tell me that you inherited a country, Anthony, where its national budget was 80 million. The government was not functioning. And you expected us to expand the economy? Then how do you sit there and say you want ANC to speak? When Alexander Cummings told us that his goal is to increase the budget from 500 million to 1 billion, subsequently 2 billion. So what does that mean? I know you people don't understand what it means. Madam Salih didn't just bring people on board. When government is expanding and providing services to its people, the government increase in size. When government increase, government incur more expenditures. One thing we did in the Unity Party government was to decentralize government like no government have done since independence. So if you don't know that, that is what we did. The reason why the budget went from 80 million to 530 million is because I'm glad you were great to say that we just didn't jump from 2006 to 530 million. No, it was gradual increment. When we inherited Liberia, where a registered nurse was making $15, how do you expect her to feed her family on $15? How did you expect the least civil servant to have a decent living standard with $800 Liberian dollars? Anthony, pray God tell me. By the time Madam Salih left office, the least civil servant was making $125. That is what government is supposed to do. You live here in one of the most beautiful countries. In a slow economy right now, what are they talking about? They're talking about stimulus. Are they talking about cutting people wages? Is that economics, you know? When you wanted to explain to me when you talk about the circular flow, no, I know where you are going. You intended to talk about the trickle-down effect, where people earn money and the money go down to the basis. But let me tell you, under your government, what have happened, sir. Apart from this running around and spilling out your personal emotions and misinforming and lying, I will ask, when we talk about Liberia, all the institutions were dead. So how did you expect us to have a functioning government, a professional government, and don't pay people on time? Is that what you wanted us to do? Even with the Ebola outbreak, the UP-led government paid people on time. We did not initiate hostilities. So what is your argument today? That it was bad that we expanded government? That it was bad that we brought more Liberians on board? Let's look at what one of your biggest lies you gave here earlier on today. You talk about we did nothing in the agriculture sector. I find it to be mind-baffling. And you say you just recently came from Liberia. Do you know the progress that was made at CARI, the Center for Agricultural Research, right there in Swakogo? Do you know how many students went abroad to study in the field? Now, let me help you when we talk about wealth creation that happened under the UP government. I hope you have the chance and go read the poverty reduction strategy and read the agenda for transformation. Do you recall when Liberians referred to Mel Jones as the poverty doctor, Anthony? Why do you think they call Mel Jones the poverty doctor? They said because the government were not doing nothing. The government provided small micro loan financing programs. That is what you do to grow economy. You empower small businesses. By doing so, you create jobs. And that is what the UP government did. So for you to sit there today that we left you with a broken economy, that is not only pathetic, but it is one embarrassing and lame, funny, jovious excuse. I will help you today. Maybe you didn't understand what exactly you inherited. As an economist that you claim to be, let me help you again. When we gave you Liberia, we gave you Liberia with a national reserve of 154.8 million. When we inherited Liberia in 2006, we inherited Liberia with a reserve of $6.5 million. So who gave who the buy Liberia? When we inherited Liberia, all the institutions were dead. Do you know that? Liberia was considered a failed state with GDP at 95% in the negative. When we gave you Liberia, after Ebola, your own president confirmed, it was 2013 for the first time our economy saw 2.5 growth. But from 2006 to 2012, we grew above 7% GDP. Even when we gave you Liberia in 2018, Liberia grew at 3.2% GDP. Can you tell the Liberian people as an economist what economic growth your government have made? Now you talk about revenue. It is normal. When you take over a government and you know what needs to be done, your job was to diversify the economy. Your job was to initiate policy to make the economy better. So the notion that you're sitting here today and want to cry and beg and make excuses, it is funny. So what have you done to make the economy better? Did you make it better by initiating wage harmonization? Did you make it better by going to donors' account and withdrawing money from there? Did you make it better by taking government money that you can't account for? Did you make it better by infusing money into the economy that is yet unaccounted for? Is that how you made the economy better? So I want to understand. So for me, I'm not here to run around when you say something. Please, sir, I want to ask you once again. I beg. All right, Josh. Let me finish my point.
Yeah,
when you
quickly.
refer to a document here, please. If you were in government do not operate in the mouth. These things are policy papers. These dossiers are available. And let me help you for your understanding. Your president in the State of the Union address said that the Unity Party government borrowed 986 million. So again, your statement that 1 billion came into the country every year is a blatant lie. So how can a government, Anthony, that borrow over the course of 12 years, less than 1 billion, were receiving 1 billion? I hope you get the math right. I beg you. I have respect for all Liberians. and I want this conversation for us to help our people with the facts. I don't want opinions here. Let's leave the sentiments out of it and discuss the facts on these things. And Senator Anthony, please, whatever link you have, please provide it to Anthony so the public can read it, so the public can have access to the fact. Let's proceed from there.
Thank you. Mr. George Lobbo there giving his rebuttal. Again, folks, in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia, and it's a special debate this Thursday on our Hour of Politics. I'm hosting Liberian. Stay tight. It is a debate between the ruling position and the opposition. These gentlemen, whatever you hear from them, they are only debating the issues about our country. This is why we brought them in to represent nobody else but the country, even though they having to have their political languages. Let's come to you, Mr. Wleh, your rebuttal.
Thank you so much. Yeah. You know, I listen religiously with so much tolerance as the brother tried to be very derogatory and stuff in his utterances. But again, I'm not surprised. That's the order of the day of most so-called Liberian politicians and propagandists and whatsoever you want to call them. You know, it's not about how loud you speak makes what you are saying correct. Lobbo spoke on so many things that he sounded so elementary, excuse my lack of better language. You know, he talked about, for example, if I say, I just sent you a piece of document on the Liberia growth rate, the trend of our growth rate, because Lobbo, he used the word lie. Lobbo said when Madaseli took over, our growth rate was what, negative 30-some %, right? I want you to show that document to our audience so they can know the actual character, how dangerous people like Lobbo are in our society. That go out there and spew out lies, misinformation, rubbish to people, and they say so confidently that it appears to be truth. When Madaseli took over in 2006, the document I just sent you, I sent you a whole growth trend of Liberia economy since 2001.
Yeah, hold on. Send it to my personal account. I'm using our page to go live. Then it'll be easier for me.
Okay. I come in to search for you right now.
Yeah.
So if you look at that document, see, if you, sorry.
Yeah, take your time.
Distracted with finding you now.
Yeah, but you can speak. And
all right, speak. I'll find it. Speak. I'll find it.
At least give us a few minutes. Talk about it.
I'll find it. Speak.
Yeah, that document that I just sent you, it gave you a trend of Liberia growth since 2001. Okay. It gave you a trend of Liberia growth since 2001. And in that document, I just sent it to you now, your current page. Good.
All right.
In that document, you will see that when Madaseli took over in 2006, January, our Liberia growth rate was at 8.04%. So you should tell my brother, it's not about how loud you speak. It's unfortunate that people sit and listen to you guys just spend all the time spelling out all these.
Did you say 2008?
2006.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, Liberia growth rate. Okay, when Madaseli took over 6% when she took over the Liberia economy. Because what? And let me tell you some of these things that he's trying to say to our people, and he's trying to make it sound like it's a fact. And which, of course, if you look at, for example, right?
It's right there on the screen, Mr. Wleh. Sorry for the interruption. It's right there on the screen.
Okay, no, the one go up a little more, because the one you're showing at the recent one.
Okay.
Go up where you, okay, that's the one. Let our audience see it. I don't know if you could highlight 2006, let they see Liberia growth rate. Our growth rate in 2006. No, go back to where you were.
Okay.
Yeah, on your right hand side there, you can see it, right?
Okay, right here.
So that 2016, go back to.
Well, that's right there, 2006.
Yeah.
Go up. Let's see.
Yeah, right here. This is 2006, right?
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
2006. Let's see it.
So
Okay.
go up,
Mhm.
go up and see. I don't want, a lot of people don't read graphs. So I want you to go to the actual number. Just throw up a little more, you will see the numbers will come up.
Yeah, these are the numbers I see here.
So
This
that
is
recent
17.
ones there, like 20, yeah, that's why I tell you, go up. I want people to see the facts, please.
Okay.
Go to Anthony, go to
Go up.
GDP. Go, no, click on
Don't click
GDP.
up, don't click. Just go up. See it. Don't click nothing.
Yeah, I'm at a very
No,
beginning here.
listen. I am telling you, just go back the way you're straight. Go back. Come further down the page that I sent you. Come further
Okay.
down again. Okay, on your right there, you can see where all the years.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me see.
So this is 2016.
No,
But this is that.
milestone.
But then when I came to Liberia here, it's only showing the
That
percentage.
Liberia there on your right. Down
No,
there.
that's not. Go on the right. Anthony,
Liberia
go on the right.
GDP.
You'll see GDP growth rate. Go on the right. Just go on the right.
That's the way you were. See, I don't know why you getting confused. No.
No, I'm not
Remember,
confused.
right
I seen
there. On
2016
your
here.
right. Don't look on that side. Look on the right where your mouse is now. That's Liberia GDP growth rate.
Calm down, stay, keep going up. See it, go down. Go down. Right there.
Go to 2006. Thank you. That's it
Go
right
up.
there. See it.
Okay.
Right there, the 2006.
You mean here?
Yes.
But it's mentioning Tanzania here, so I thought this was for Tanzania.
No, that Liberia.
Okay.
Listen, look
All
at
right.
the top of where you are and see Liberia GDP growth rate historical data.
Okay. Go ahead.
Anthony, I'm going to send you something from the World Bank IMF so you can put it off our
Yeah,
people.
Joe, stop the interruption. It's MacCullay time.
Yeah.
Sorry, MacCullay.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm used to that. The fact is, I am grateful that people will see the evidence. So, I said it took over 8%, but these guys, they believe in things that are not factual. But I go to other issues he talked about. He talked about initially, right? He talked about the whole issue of when it took over to create wealth and all of those things. What wealth the United Party create in Liberia? Are you kidding me? Can you have the courage to say that to the Liberian people? What wealth the United Party when United Party took over from the Julie Bryan intro arrangement, there were a lot of things that are already started doing that arrangement. I know she is aware, my brother maybe might not be aware of the GMAP program, the Government Management Economic Assistance Program, the GMAP
I'm aware of the GMAP program.
Okay.
I am.
All of these things were already started before Manaseri took over. Okay, the good governance structure, all of those things our international partners were working along the inter-government with. When Manaseri came over, yes, people were making income that were unsustainable. It's a fact. That one, I don't have to debate on that. $20 could not pay anybody that was working at the time. What Manaseri did, she started to incrementally increase the those that were making such low income pay. But then what happened? In 2009, when she did that increment, the first thing she came in fact, don't forget, she did what you talk about. You trying to condemn harmonization. Manaseri, you know what she did? She implemented what they call right sizing and downsizing. If you remember that, right? And you remember that vividly, Manaseri came and took people out of their jobs because she wanted to incorporate her cronies to bring a spoil system, to expand on the spoil system. So Bwaka then came and they said yes. So that when they did right sizing and downsizing, took the people for the job. And then they started to hire people that had relationship with the power that be at the time. On the broad end, yes, they carry 7 pay up. But I am not talking about 2006, Lobbo. I am saying, like I stated several times here, in 2009, the wage bill of Liberia was about $100 million. Didn't I say that here? I said that repeatedly.
Right.
So for 2009, it was not like at the time that people were still making $20 in 2009. No. At that time, I think in 2009, they started increasing. Certain sectors were making at least that less than $100 US. And that over 250 million increment in civil servant salary, it was not largely going to the regular ordinary civil servant. Okay. Most of that money were going to the higher echelon, like people he talked about. There were very few people. Most of the people he made reference to the left government at a very early stage. How long did Dr. Saya stay in Liberia? She left, I think, after 2 years or so, or 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. and then Augustine Gaffron went to finance ministry. Okay, most of the people that came, they left the government, the few people that he listed, right, they left at an early stage. Then, what did they do? When Madam Sally started to bring her friends, her relatives, her cronies and stuff like that, and she started to give them a lucrative job and started to pay them insane amount. A poor country like Liberia, you have people like I remember Gaffron went to Foreign Affairs, he was making about $18,000 per month. You have, in fact, ministers started to determine their own pay, how many gallons of gas they take home per month, to the extent that some of them were taking in 1,000 gallons, 2,000 gallons, 1,500. The guys to FPRC, Harry Greaves then. Harry Greaves, I remember at one point in time, one of the budget performance something or discussing, Harry Greaves was taking, I think, about 2,000 gallons of gas every month. Before later on, this guy came and took over from him, T. Nelson Wleh at FPRC. Then you talk about facts. I am giving you expected me to bring all of Liberia budget since 2006 when Malasari took over. That's ludicrous. That nonsensical to say, oh, I hope the man come with all of the facts and this. That's not what you call fact. What I'm saying here, you are, either if you are any Liberian are paying attention, our audiences can be the judge. They all knew how insane those people were being paid. Okay, going forward, he made reference of the
hydro.
The hydro. Thank you. Sorry, my earpiece just went there, so I trying to switch. So he made reference of the hydro, and he,
Yeah, we can stay here. The earpiece, we can stay here.
Yeah. It's disappointing for my brother to come when they say energy sector, and then he can't talk about only hydro.
No,
then you say, oh, look at this is what I spent on my coffee, $360 million. That's embarrassing. When I say energy sector and you can't name one particular project in the energy sector, and then you are confidently shaking yourself and feel that you're speaking facts, that's embarrassing to you. Because the truth remains, our energy sector is not getting my coffee. You showed in my coffee, you said $360 million. We had an HFO project. Are you aware of the HFO, the bourgeois HFO project? Are you aware of the generators and stuff that we have to the HFO side there? Are you aware
you
of?
Want me to finish?
No, just stop. Let the man land.
No, go ahead. I'm saying to go ahead. He asking me to say go ahead.
Are you aware of the transmission and distribution arm of the energy sector? These are all inclusive. Those are all things that contribute to the energy sector. So when I say pretty close to $1 billion, I was not precise. So if I say pretty close, if you yourself confidently told the people that we spent $360 million at hydro that produces less than 100 megawatt per hour, that's waste of money. That's not value for money. Can you imagine? This is not a project that started from zero. Sonny here. This is not a project. We had the infrastructure was damaged to a large extent. That's true, but we had something there, a little framework there before you guys started that project. Look at Nelson neighbor. Look at Guinea. I'm told in Africa Coast, they spend less than, I think they spent 250 or 260 million. They spent $1 million per megawatt. That what they spent for the new hydro that was just commissioned in Africa Coast. Okay. So if you take that and bring it to Liberia, the money we spend, I mean, we sort of have over 300 megawatt power generation. Just anecdotal logic I try to put out there here for the common man to understand it.
Okay.
So we spend technically, because if you multiply, if I even take it to 90, if I multiply 90 by 4, that should be what, 9 times 8, 3, 36, right? 9 times 4, rather, 36. It's about $360 million. So we spend 4 times more than what our neighbors spend in the same region for my coffee. But more besides, he talked about the agricultural sector. How can George Lobbo sit and he thinks that the people listening to our dump that you'll be proud to talk about Liberia's agriculture sector that Madam Sedi left? Madam Sedi left our agriculture sector that the Liberian people up to today's date, we spent about at least over 200 million from the latest report I last saw on rice importation.
Okay, beyond that, we were going to neighboring countries, importing pepper, our staple. After we spent $300+ million in the agriculture sector under the reign of the Maraseli government. Then you telling me, oh, what evidence he bring? You expect me to go bring evidence when the people live in the evidence, they live in the realities of your field policies? Who in Liberia does not know that Maraseli left Liberia and we import almost everything that we consume? Our people are aware. Our people are aware, George. We can have better. The most honorable thing I think George can do is to sit and say, look, we feel the Liberian people, but maybe we will do things better. But to sit there and even attempt to defend a government that left Liberia, when Maraseli left Liberia, you have over 84% of the Liberian people living in poverty. What are you talking? Maraseli left Liberia. Joseph Weah, who is a standard bearer that he passes around calling the people trying to promote. When Weah left Liberia, 84% of people are living in aged poverty, according to the World Bank. See, I don't know if you also want me to send you that too, but it's very, I can even find that and send it to you.
According to the World Bank. When he's speaking, you can find it and set it so we can share it.
60% of those people were living extreme poverty. Extreme poverty. Majority of the people that were working in Liberia were still poor. Then you talk about wealth creation. When Maraseli was in Liberia, you talk about wealth creation. Liberian construction companies were not allowed to do certain projects like building asphalt pavement roads. That has greatly changed. That has greatly changed. I see in our plan here, we'll go to the issue of the road sector. I will provide you, I will tell you the amount of Liberian road construction companies now that have not just asphalt pavement projects, but they had bridges that was like an abomination during the Maraseli reign. Then you talk about wealth creation during the Unity Party time, when Joseph Weah was taking over $1 million every year. Joseph Weah, a guy that has never been a leader in his entire life. He always has been a follower. Just follow people, support people, stay there, remain quiet, get what he can get, consume what he can consume for he and his family. When the time comes, he dressed so. He dressed so. Did it doing Samuel Dotan, before Samuel Dotan, Maraselita, all the interim government. This is the life that God lived. Then you got to go to defend such person and come and talk here today. The reality is that Liberia is everything is not okay in Liberia. And sorry you came late. I laid that foundation very well. Sorry you came late. I talk about the health sector we took over. Out of your 12 years, you say I should be making reference to this.
All right.
You are fully aware that your 12 years you left Liberia health sector. In fact, Ebola showed clearly that we never had a real functioning health sector. You left, JFK was dilapidated when you left. You remember when George, after Weah inauguration, when they had to go and clean, I saw the garbage that was, the amount of garbage that was coming out of JFK. I said, is this medical center? Is this where people come for medical treatment? This is where you left Liberia. Okay, you left under 5% of our people having access to reliable electricity. Even if I would say for the sake of argument, Joy Lobbo, oh yeah, you spent $360 million on the hydro. You spend $360 million and less than 5% of your people having access to reliable electricity. Then you talk about wealth creation. Can you create wealth without reliable electricity, without road infrastructure, without good health, without security? Can you, what society is that? What society is that? As we delve into other issues here, Sonny, that you said we would talk about the issue of road and stuff like that, I will tell you how this government is kind of empowering Liberians in the challenging times. He talked about Maraseli borrow only 1.7 billion. How can a brother say Liberia was receiving over about $1 billion every year? Lobbo, listen, there's something they call attention to details. I never said Liberia budget was Liberia was getting $1 billion every year in budgetary support. I said the money that were going in the economy. If you are not aware, United Nations alone was spending at least about $500 million initially, and it started to come down as they were wrapping up things.
All right.
Okay. So Mr. United Nations spending all that money, you had different NGOs. We had tens of international non-governmental organizations that were spending millions of dollars.
So Mr. Wleh,
Yeah.
All right. Sorry for interrupting you. I want you to conclude with at least 1 or 2 questions for Josh, then he can come in.
If you were, I don't. If you want me to ask George, because the question I will ask George firstly is, George, are you aware that when MacCullay left Liberia, she left Liberia as one of the poorest countries among the first, I think, 3 or 4. Okay, let me just extend it to 5. Among the 5 poorest countries on earth, where about 84% of our people are living in poverty or below the poverty line. Are you aware that when MacCullay left Liberia, we had a broken healthcare system? Are you aware of those things? And lastly, I hope this you can monitor the time, and this can be kind of a little interactive, because sometimes
hold on. You went on rumbling without saying anything. You said first and foremost here. He said that I should not expect him to come to a discussion with facts.
No, Josh. No, he said you shouldn't expect him to come with all the government document, and so that's why you shouldn't expect him.
Yeah. Anthony, listen.
Yeah.
When we talk about facts, you don't have to present everything, right? When I say facts, me as an intellectual, you can say, are you aware of this number? That you can't tell people where it came from, when that agreement was entered into, who provided the funding. If you want to attach credibility, let me give you an example. In 2015, the Unity Party government signed a $257 million compact grant from the US government. Are you aware of that? That you can look up. So when you want to speak, that is how an intellectual must speak. You can't just say, are you aware? Are you aware? But you can't tell us where it came from, but we should just be aware. That is not being factual. When you are factual, you say, on this date, the Liberian government received $500 million from this government. On this day, on this program, I'll give you another scenario. The Liberian government and the late Muammar Gaddafi entered into a $60 million agricultural project in Lofa. Are you aware of that? Which was headed by Dr. McIntosh. So you see what I'm talking about. That is the facts I'm talking about. Everything he has told us here, he has not attached the source of funding, where it came from, who provided it, or he's been saying, are you aware? Let me help the brother today, Anthony. He said the United Nations was spending $500 million every year in Liberia. Anthony, I want you to please do the Liberian people a favor. Can you please look how much was raised for Liberia at the donor conference in 2003? Can you please do that as a favor for us? Because what that will do, Anthony, that will help educate my brother today. Let me tell you.
Joe, are you suggesting that only that total amount that was raised was used by the United Nations throughout the time?
Anthony, the United Nations report said for total time in Liberia, she spent $500 million on peacekeeping operation. That is my statement, sir. That's why I told Anthony to do us a favor and look it up now. This is not time to argue. Now, let me tell you what the UN said. The UN said she spent $500 million. She also said she spent $200 million on building capacity. Now, if you recall, after the Akasomo Peace Accord, when Chairman Judy Bryan came to power, the donor conference that were held on Liberia raised $700+ million. That was the money that was used. But let me come to some things the brother said here today, which of course I found laughing. When I referred to the hydro, you misquoted. I told you, I said, let's look at our biggest energy provider. That is when I brought the hydro in. Because based on how many different projects we undertake, we can be able to associate costs with them and know how much money we spend. The reason I brought the hydro for you was to tell you that if our biggest energy sector project was the hydro, which cost us $360 million, then you can make the argument that we invested over $1 billion in Liberia. Now, let's come to the energy sector, Anthony. He talked about the structure was there. I'm not going to get into all of that because, as we can record, when the project started, when Ebola outbreak came, the engineers from Sweden left and went. They had to come back after the Ebola outbreak, right? Now, the hydro had not moved. The hydro itself was completely dead. So it was like starting from fresh. He talked about the project on Bushra Island. Anthony, I want you all to check it out. That project was under $12 million. That was the first project Ellen initiated in her 6 months of being in power, which was the small light today, big light tomorrow. All right. He kept on running around and talking about wealth. Now, let me help the man understand how, when we talk about government created wealth, how it works. The government look at people well-being, right? Government look at how many people buying homes, how the housing market is doing, how many Americans have money saving, how many more Americans are investing, those type of things. Now, let's come to Liberia. I left Liberia December of 2006. I was a young man in Liberia. At my age, when I was in Liberia doing Taylor time and first year Ellen, very few young people of my age own homes in Liberia. So the number of young people, if this young man today would tell me, the number of young people today in Liberia that own homes on their own, that if that is not part of wealth creation, in America, your biggest asset is referred to as your home. So when we talk about wealth, if your understanding is that government will go out and get everybody money, that is not how it works. The government responsibility is to create an enabling environment. So when we talk about that environment, what does that environment entail? It is the environment where the government is attracting investors, where people can be able to get a job, where people can work and earn income, and people can be able to start a family. Now, the math is so simple, Anthony. If you went to Liberia today and look at the number of Liberians that are financially potent in terms of their own properties, when you talk about wealth, you think that it all has to be money. Asset is also wealth. So, for example, if you go to every major city, you go to a place like Ganta, you go to a place like Banga, Kakata, and see how these cities have expanded. So I was there in 2006. So how you think the city expanded? If the government had not created opportunity for people to earn income, if you think the government had not created a means for people to earn wealth. Now let me help this brother when we talk about wealth. You talk about Madam Salif, the UP government. Prior to 2006, there was no Accel Mentor in Liberia. There was no China Union in Liberia. There was no Veron Plantation in Liberia. There was no gold mine program in Grand Cape Mount County. I can go on with logging companies, so on and so forth, right? Now, what happened? You saw those companies there. That is the environment we're talking about. The government initiating fiscal reform that makes the country attractive for businesses to come and establish in the country. Because what businesses do when they come to the country, they create jobs. When people work, people earn income. When people earn income, people become financially stable. When people become financially stable, people are able to go out and spend. The reason why when the CDC government came to power, in its first year, consumer spending dropped is because there are no economic activities. We saw businesses shutting down. We saw businesses laying off. So for this brother to sit down and say we left the country in a bad shape, he talked about the security sector, saying he mentioned it, let me help you again. Do you know that before we left, before the UP government left Liberia, the Liberia police, let's just take one sector, the Liberian police was ranked number 2 in West Africa behind Senegal. The Liberian National Police was ranked 17 on the continent for professionalism. Under your CDC government, the Liberian National Police escorted our money and our money went missing. Up to now, the police is yet to give a report. Under the UP government, police did not escort money. The first 5.5 billion that arrived in the country did not go missing and unaccounted for. Under your government, the police escorted our money, it went missing. So I hope you know that. Under the United Party government, when we talk about the economy, my dear brother, you talk about we're working with international partners, which is true. So what's stopping you from working with international partners? Is that an excuse? That is to tell the Liberian people that they elected a government that nobody trusts, or the government is incapacitated. The government don't have the means to work with international partners. That's all it is. You know, the notion that when Ellen came to power, everything just went to Liberia, no, my dear brother. I want you to know this today. It had to take the government and the leadership to be able to put in place reforms. There's something called reforms. Those are the things that drive businesses, that make the country attractive. Okay, so they did it. You spoke about, let me give you one thing you didn't talk about today. How did we secure the $4.5 billion debt? Do you think it was a charity gift? Do you know the countries we met in those programs? We met Sierra Leone. We met Cameroon in that program, but we surpassed them and qualified in 2012 through the HAPEC initiative. Do you think it was just done all of joke? No. When you inherited Liberia, you did not inherit Liberia with $4.5 billion debt. So the notion that we gave you a Liberia that was bad is not true. Now, you wanted to talk about the healthcare sector. Now, let's look at the healthcare sector. I mean, since you asked me that question. Do I believe there's need for more investment? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But what was done in the healthcare sector? Making the healthcare sector better, we put more money in the healthcare sector. If you look at the national budget, if you look at the hospitals' budget and support they receive in terms of subsidies. For example, JFK, $5.5 million. Phoebe Hospital, $2.1 million. I can go and name all of them for you. Can you tell us today what your government have done to make your hospital better? Can you provide, when I ask you to provide a number, you say you didn't come with the facts. I don't know how an intellectual comes to such a discourse. You want to do a comparative analysis between two things, but you speak to something in an imaginary world. I don't live in a fantasy world. Now, for me, the reason why it's easy if you want to challenge me, is because I know what your government did. I have your government budget. That's what you should do. You should be able to tell the Liberian people, say, when you look in our budget, look under the Ministry of Health, in so and so, this is how much we are allocated to them. But to come here and sit down and say, oh, y'all look there. Y'all look there. That is not being a professional. I just want to be very clear here today. And let me help you today. I will be very clear, and I want you to do this for me. I'm not saying we made everything perfect in the healthcare sector, but a couple of things we did. We built hospitals in counties that never had hospitals. Your vice president today, when Joelle Howard Taylor came to Minnesota, she told the Liberian people at that gathering that one thing the government have done, this government have made primary healthcare accessible in all districts. Those were the words of Joelle. Joelle is not from the Unity Party government. Who is Joelle today? Is the vice president for the CDC. So was she lying that time? Now let me help you again with some other things here today. When your government came to power, can you tell us what you did to make those hospitals better? Phoebe was $2.1 million. Okay? The Cali hospital was getting $750,000. You're an intellectual, you come in and say, I don't have the facts, I don't have it. But you know where you're left. What we left is what I'm telling you. When we left Liberia, how much was a registered nurse making? The least nurse was making $250 and up. When we inherited Liberia, what was a nurse making? $15. Do you expect a nurse to have a decent life on $15? Is that not something being done to improve in that sector? How much was a medical doctor making in 2006? $150. What was the least medical doctor making by the time we gave you the country? $1,050. What have you done to them? Have you improved it or you decided to reduce it? So for me, I'm not here to sit down and follow, because one thing, I don't speak on talking points. This is why when I come to these intellectual discussions, I'm expecting someone to tell me that in 2006, the Liberian government secured $500 million from the Chinese government. Like I can tell you, we borrowed $60 million from the Bank of China for the renovation of the RIA and the construction of the new terminal. I can tell you that in 2015, we met the MCC compact qualification, and we managed to secure a $257 million compact grant, which was signed by then Finance Minister Ahmad. You keep referring to the wage bill and nothing was done. I will tell you today, my dear brother, when I was a young man in Liberia, to be honest, given chancellor time, the expectation of when some of us will own homes was not there. I'm grateful today that many young people, after earning 12 years, have assets. Some of them have homes Some of them had other life they bought. Some of them started construction somewhere. But because of the economic hardship being brought upon them by this George Weah government, we have friends in the government who are working and can't get paid. And they are begging people in America every day. Is that what you call that you've made it better? When we took over Liberia, the budget was 80 million. It's true. But because we had to expand government, we had to create work for the people. So we did not expand government on the basis of party loyalism. We expanded government based on needs. It was for the first time you saw counties were being given allotments in the national budget. That is the first time. We want to talk about sectors. Our government decentralized education. What have you done to those areas? We opened community colleges across the country. Now, since your government came, those colleges are dying natural death today. The University of Liberia, it was under the UP government that the University of Liberia saw a budget over $12 million annually. Your first budget, what did you do? You could not even grant them 50% of their budget. The president of the university testified before the Liberian Senate and told the Liberian Senate that since the pronouncement of President Weah, free public universities, that all public universities are running at a deficit. And you are an economist, you sit here and tell us that a man who got all the institutions running at a deficit is doing well, and you boastful of that, and such an economist. Now let's talk about economic activities. What was going on? We have businesses. I have friends that own shops. Some own nightclubs, hotels, guest houses in Ganta. They're all calling us and telling us that during the days of Madam Salih, you had NGOs coming. You have businesses, people were coming. But since George came to power, nothing is going. You have businesses in the market. They say, you say you're an economist. You hear that consumer spending is down. What drove consumer spending down? That the UP government in power? And you still sitting here and knocking your chest and trying to tell us about what we did?
All right, George.
We'll get to roll. When we get to roll, let me end on this one note here. Let me tell you today.
All right.
Whatever the UP government did, Anthony.
And quickly, Josh. Time.
Let me finish
quickly.
Here's what I would say to you, sir. In 2006, when the Unity Party government of Ellen inherited Liberia, my brother, who inherited a country with a national reserve of $6.5 million, with an external debt of $4.5 billion on your head, without a functioning army, without a functioning police force, all government institutions were dead. Or name me one institution in government that will function. And we inherited Liberia in one of the worst states because guess what? We inherited Liberia after the NTGL government, which was a transitional government that Judy Bryan did not really have absolute control over all these other warring factions. Now, what we had to do was to restore Liberia to a functioning country. And let me say this to you, my young man, my dear friend and brother. If you believe that Ellen was able to do it, then your question should be, what policies have George put forth that made Liberia attractive for people to come there? What have been some of the reforms instituted by the CDC government that want businesses to stay in Liberia? Since you came to Liberia, what have you done to increase consumers' confidence?
All right.
To increase confidence in the financial institution. Tell us some of these things.
Josh, time.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, time. All right, folks, in cyberspace, as you can see, you are watching. Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Why, you mute me or what?
No, I didn't mute you, bro.
Okay.
I didn't mute you. Again, folks, in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics with me, Anthony C. This is the much advertised debate, and as you can see, it is going on. And I am going to make a suggestion here to this gentleman. We need part 2 of the debate. I can see that the audience are very much involved. But let's come to Mr. MacCullay, who will give a rebuttal.
Thank you.
Mr. Wleh, your turn. Go.
Yeah. See, again, I tell my brother, what's his name? Lobbo. Yeah. Josh, right? Josh, you know, I continue to tell you.
Yeah, 1 second. I asked the brother question. Can he answer my question? I did answer his. Can he
Let the
answer my
brothers.
question?
Oh, you a lot of things you said was in question. So which one you referring to specifically? I'll be glad to answer.
I want you to please tell the Liberian people when the CDC government took over, they named 3 hospitals what we were allocating to them in budgetary support. What have you done to make them effective and make it better? And I also want you to tell us, what have you done as a government from an economic perspective? What are some of the economic reform you have instituted to make Liberia attractive for businesses to come to Liberia? Those are my 2 questions.
Thank you. So
and how many businesses have come?
Yeah.
So let me start with your questions before I respond to all the other misinformation he spread out there. You know, let's take it this way. When George Weah came to power, look, there is nothing called hospital when it's just an infrastructure, when it's just a building standing. Okay, when George Weah came to power, we had what? Our citizen to doctor ratio was the highest in the region, right? According to the World Health Organization. Okay, and more besides that, what he did immediately, he met with the medical guys. Look, and they told him, because you don't just go in isolation and start to do things, right? The medical people said, look, we got a lot of areas that we are lacking expertise in. So immediately the government went ahead and sent Liberians abroad to study in different fields, which of course I know my brother Lobbo is aware. I don't know again, maybe you expect me to come here today with a picture of those people that were sent abroad. And
that project started in 2010. Go ahead.
And more besides, he talked about evidence. I don't know, he said he made a lot of claims that he didn't show up paper, but to him, he feels he's speaking with evidence. Okay. For example, he
I was sending to Anthony. Let's go ahead.
Okay, I want you to send right now the budget wherein they gave JFK $5+ million and they gave Phoebe Hospital.
No, stop it. Yeah, right in my hands, sir. Stop playing.
George, don't interrupt.
Listen, you know, you gotta exercise restraint, brother. I listen to you despite all the unfactual thing you were saying. So then you let's go to the issue of the numbers. See, I sent you something. I hope you look that up through your personal stuff. Because I continue to tell the people like George Lobbo, they are dangerous for a lot of reasons. I want you to straight to the 3rd paragraph.
All right.
The 3rd paragraph, and our viewers see that. The
hold on.
Paragraph. Yes, right there. So George Lobbo claimed that he said United Nations, all the years they were in Liberia, they spent $500 million in Liberia. That is disgusting.
On peacekeeping.
Peacekeeping mission. Right now, that paragraph that is highlighted, 2004, 2005 alone, they appropriated $864 million for United Nations mission in Liberia. And George Lobbo sits here. You see how the guys, they come out. I tell the Liberian people, pay attention. Too many people want attention. And because of that, they go out there and they market falsehood with confidence. And our people are falling for it. These guys, they will ruin you. You talk about evidence. I'm showing you the evidence, and I hope all of our viewing audience are looking at it on the stream right now. The brother claimed here. You know what it means to sustain 15,000 peacekeepers in a country? Then the brother said the number I called was big. In fact, I understated. 2004, 2005 alone, they spent almost $1 billion in Liberia on the United Nations peacekeeping mission. There was a general peacekeeping mission budget in Africa. Out of the $2.8 billion, we have some that went to Democratic Republic of Congo and stuff like that. If you look at the other paragraph, you'll see all of the different breakdowns, rather. But look out there for Liberia. So I hope our audience are paying attention and know that when Lobbo's talking, just listen to him. Don't be carried away by the energy he brings to the discussion. Just focus on the facts, and I will try as much as possible to provide the facts for you to see it. Okay. The first facts I provided it when he came here, he misled the people that in 2006 when Manaseli took over, they took over a negative 31% GDP growth. That was false. I provided the facts. If you just joining us, I counted that. I showed Anthony see the evidence. He put it on the screen here. And when Manaseli came, we had a 8.8+% GDP growth. Because why? Because Liberia was a failed state, right? The interim government came. A lot of things were not working. Just the President of the United Nations going in Liberia in 2002, 2003 alone created an economic boom. Lobbo talking about what has CDC done to attract investors. The first thing, when the United Party came to power, it was not like they did so much to attract investors. Liberia was like a virgin country. After many years of civil war, okay, Liberia has a lot of minerals and resources that were on tap. So, for example, maybe Lobbo is not aware that the accident metal due started from the interim government that he's talking about. So there were a lot of things that you saw that happened during the Manaseli time that started before even Manaseli became president of Liberia. It was not that she did something extra. And the fact that you always try to make this thing like to say, oh, it was because Manaseli used so much expertise or because of something else that made what was happening in Liberia, it was because Manaseli. No, bulk of those things were already happening. For example, the document I just provided for CA to show to our audience, that was 2005, 2004, 2005. Manaseli was not president when UN was spending $800+ million that year, that fiscal year alone in the Liberian peacekeeping mission. Okay, so these things were happening when Manaseli was sitting down in the interim arrangement at the government, the Good Governance Commission with Dr. Sawyer and stuff like that, and David Coty. She was one of the commissioners at the Governance Reform Commission with Dr. Sawyer then. These things were happening. So she came, she inherited something, like I said, she inherited over 8% economic growth and started to what? Yeah, make some move like the payment of civil servant and stuff like that. Yeah, times have changed. Obviously, we're now sustainable stuff. But what happened? Under Madam Salif, we have collected over $8 billion in revenue, if my numbers are right. If we have collected at least probably about $7 or $8 billion in revenue during the Madam Salif time, or a little more than that. So during that time, what has that budget done to create a structural economy? For example, we have what at one point in time over like our 2010, 2011 budget, 2011, 2012 budget, Lobbo, for your exact reference, we have over 75% of that budget going to recurrent expenditure alone. When you talk about economic, look in the region, go to most of the other countries, they are at least somewhere around 50, 60% recurrent expenditure. But Liberia, we have the government alone eating all the revenue she generates. So at the end of the day, there's no money for public sector investment. But what is happening today? You talk about how did we meet? The first thing, look, how did we meet the debt waiver? We met the debt waiver because what? Like I said, prior to Manaseli coming in power, we had the GMAP project that started, right? The Government Management Economic Assistance Program, the GMAP project was already ongoing. That GMAP project was what started the foundation that Manaseli inherited for us to go to debt waiver. That debt waiver exercise, obviously, everybody knew, the international partners knew that Liberia had to go through the HIPIC project because we could not meet up with our debt. Okay, so they brought in people to help us. Like the European Union were paying John Molu at the GAC there, and they said the World Bank also were paying Antonia Sayed at Finance Ministry. But what happened when those people who were helping, who led that particular exercise, like John Molu, who at least fought to make sure we meet all of the benchmark, when they succeeded, Madam Salif, what she did, she reprimanded them by taking a guy like John Molu out of her government. Because why? She was not serious with the fight against corruption. And all these things were happening when George Lobbo, Joseph Barker were right there at the Capitol Building getting over $1 billion every budgetary period. Okay, but more beyond that, let's come to, he's talking about businesses and stuff like that, people complaining, oh, they're not getting customer hotel. That's a fact. I'm not going to sit here, I'm not ignorant or I'm not deceptive. I'm a realist. And before you came, I made it very clear to see at the start of this program. I said, audience, I'm not here to tell you that all is okay in Liberia. I'm here to tell you that times are very difficult in Liberia right now as we speak. It is not easy. Our people are struggling for so many different things. Okay, but the reality is this is now a struggle. This is now a situation that this government brought on them. And I started to enumerate what the different sector, what was met. I talk about your whole health issue. Let's be realistic, man. Stop the joke. We all saw where Ebola came. When Ebola came, we saw clearly that we never had a health sector in Liberia. What are you talking about? Madam Salita, people were still calling JFK just for killing. It's a fact. Today, you go like the first time for us to conduct a brain surgery at the JFK. Are you aware of that? Or if I ask you again, you'll say, maybe I should have brought Dr. I think Dr. Nile, I might forget his name off here, but maybe you expect me to come with a picture to say, this is the guy that did the surgery. But if you're following things, which of course I want to believe so, we did the first time they perform a brain surgery in Liberia at JFK. First time in our history. Today in Liberia, what has happened? Our government and our international partners, maybe you'll say, why I didn't bring the evidence again. She is talking about, oh, maybe he was researching something, and I don't know what you call evidence, but these are facts that are easily verifiable by anybody. So in debates, things that are easily verifiable, you don't go and bring all the people and say, oh, these things, no. If people know for true that Liberia cannot sustain yourself, we import everything we eat. I don't need to come and bring budget to show the people that, oh, Liberia or Manasedi left were importing rice, bitter ball, pepper, and things. Every Liberian knows that that's a fact. Okay, let's go to the issue of the JFK I was just talking about. JFK was dilapidated when this government came to power. Maybe my brother was not following. I remember in 2018 when they appointed this guy to head the Ebola hero to head JFK. I'm not too good at names. The guy, when they were carrying on the cleanup campaign, where I think it was Jetty or so, even helped for that cleanup campaign exercise. The amount of garbage that came from the nation's #1 referral hospital, it was too disappointing. You will never believe that was hospital where people go for treatment. The hospital in Tapeta there in Nimba County, it was shut down almost. All of the equipment and things were broken down. It was not working. It's Lobbo not aware again, or you expect me to go and bring video recording from the equipment not working. Okay. And even we had some Ethiopian doctors and all that were there. I remember one time where I think it was Front Africa or so reported on the situation of the hospital down there. So George, we are inherit not to make excuse. And like I said before you came, Lobbo, I said, these are not excuses for the government. It's just that we are trying to measure. Because if we say what the government doing right now, we got to be able to measure it against what she got and what all of her predecessors have done. So I don't know, if we still go into the road sector, but that is another thing because we're talking about economy, we talk about Liberians empowerment. That's another sector that is a clear evidence. We talk about what we have we are the first thing, what Mills Jones were doing. He made reference of that here. Mm-hmm. Even Madam Salif, a lot of people in the Unity Party government have problem with it because the first, it's not a central bank responsibility. You don't know what you make law. The first thing you came here, you said you came late. I never.
What did you just say? I'm listening. Go ahead.
I never came here and claim I'm an economist because to be an economist, you got to practice. I said I went to school. I got a bachelor's degree in economics. Right now, as a profession, I work as a senior robotics engineer for JLL America. That's what I do for living. So right now, I'm a robotics engineer. That's what I do for living. That's my current profession. Having a degree in economics does not necessarily make you an economist. Okay, but to the point I was making, this is not something that we got to come and play politics about. We got to be able to talk about. A central bank cannot be out there giving loans. That was a wrong economic strategy. And people have problem with it. And I'm told that even some of the reasons that Mill Jones were even ousted. And he also had a presidential ambition. That's why he was doing that unorthodox thing. Okay, which is not right. But this government have come and at least the last time they provided through LBDR. I don't know if you want me to go bring the recording again, but I sure see everybody follow. When the president and the LBDR president, John Davis, they provided $3 million or a little over $3 million to SMEs, small medium enterprises, Liberian-owned SMEs. They provided that money for them. Okay, beyond that, there are different economic policies that are going to help to empower Liberians specifically. For example, we will come with a separate from the road, but even like today in roads projects, to carry on any road project in Liberia, see, 25%, even if that road project value $100 million, 25% must, the minimum of 25% of that road project must be given to a Liberian or 100% Liberian friend. Okay, what that means, if you have a $100 million road project, like the road from Barclayville to Greenville, you're going to have 100 million, at least minimum will be given to a Liberian construction company, which means 25 million will be awarded to a Liberian owned company. Today, in Liberia, when the president talks about Liberians should not be spectators in their own economy, we got several. Do you know that a bridge that was built between the Timber Bridge between Grand Bassa and River Cess, it was 100% done by a Liberian owned company, and the engineers that did the work were 100% Liberian. You know how many, you know how that bridge. Today in Liberia, we got several Liberian-owned entities like the Jupiter MDMC of John Uboti, Jupiter of how you call this guy, Toma. All these companies today, all of them have been given Asphalt Road project. Westwood, East International, that is given the RRA Road project. It's owned by partly by Liberians. All of those things. Are you not aware of these things? So Liberians are being impacted. Just that, yes, the country is tough, but it will take time for us to get there. Nobody will sit there and act that things are normal in Liberia. No, that would be deception. That would be this. That would be so. I would never support anybody that would say, "Oh yeah, Liberia is okay." No, but the reality remains, Liberia could have been far better if a guy like Joseph Boakai, working with Ellen Joseph Sally, had great vision if they could project. And when we were receiving all of those billions, Lobbo, like I stated, and you were arguing here when I said Liberia were getting over $1 billion annually in your economy, and you were ignorantly arguing to that. I just provided evidence that was displayed that UA alone was spending like in 2024, they spent over 800 million in Liberia, almost close to $1 billion at least. So when I say Liberia are getting over $1 billion every year in our economy, it comes from both the sector by United Nations and all the entire economy, which of course the evidence there again, if you still want to argue that. So look, see it, the reality remains. Look, let's go to the reality and talk about those things that are happening in Liberia, and not to sit here and allow people. You know, the party feel the Liberian people. It's not a debate. There are staunch people that were there. They will tell you, hey, you know, the party feel the Liberian people. So I did not really come here to discuss United Party, to be honest. I came here to discuss the progress that have been made in Liberia, and then where Liberia is right now and where we are headed.
All right.
You mentioned good governance on the you sent out. I hope we can.
All right.
I know we are going
Mr. Wleh, Mr. Wleh, and Josh. Mr. Wleh and Mr. Wleh and Mr. Josh, let's do this, gentlemen. I'm enjoying the debate, but what we outline, we will not be able to cover that. Okay. We will reschedule the other segment of this debate for another day, and we'll announce that to the audience. I'm sure the audience will be more than glad to join us this game. Okay. So this is what I want us to do. The only segment we can add to this to conclude this debate, we've gone almost 2 hours, will be the issue of asset recovery. But I will give George the opportunity to respond and let him make it brief so that we can touch on asset recovery and close it. And then we can read.
Why we couldn't delve into roles too?
What you see that again?
The role is a big thing. Anthony, we might go 3 hours, and we don't want to go there.
No, Anthony, the roles should be very simple. Roles will be simple.
Very simple.
All right, then let's do this. We'll do the roles after this, and then we'll close and schedule the rest for next time.
Okay.
All right.
Let me
George,
respond to something. Let me respond.
Let's be brief now.
Start with roles, right? Let me respond to something real quick.
All right. Right.
You know, I find it so disheartening when a man sits here and tell me about JFK and talk about what they've done. What you didn't tell the Liberian people is since your government came to power, what you allocated to JFK. That would have been able to help the Liberian people to know what you've done. But I will help you. Prior to your government coming into power in the 2017-2018 budget, $10 million was allocated to the renovation of JFK. The capacity which the surgery was performed is because JFK was on a renovation before you came and met it. You didn't come and get $10 million to renovate JFK. So when you're speaking, that is why when I'm asking you for facts, those are the facts I'm talking about. I don't expect you to be running around with documents in your hand, okay? Anthony, I sent you something, the last thing I sent you. Look at the average of how much JFK were receiving. What I expected to hear this brother to tell us, since his government was doing well, was to tell us how much is allocated to JFK. Then go down, you'll see the average, around $6.something million. That is how you make a place better.
Which paragraph?
So, let me finish. Look there.
Right here. Let me read that. The hospital said that for the past 3 years, its budget ceiling has been 6.5 million.
Okay, leave it. I will tell him. So when I'm talking about facts, these are things that an intellectual should have. The man said, we can't talk about hospital and it was just a structure. You know, Anthony is pathetic that I will be sitting here. Do you know who ran the Jackson Hebdo hospital that you talk about? It was a very good friend of mine called Victor Kaiser. Victor Kaiser. He was dismissed by George Weah because he supported Joseph Boakai in the runoff. All right? When I send you pictures of the transformation made at Jackson Hebdo, but because in this government you are not expected to do the right thing, so George let him go. So my brother sat down here and was running around. When I asked him, he said, you want me to go take pictures? I didn't want you to take pictures. As an intellectual, you should have those things to your fingertip. You talk about Ellen government and the wasteful spending, but you don't want to present it. I will help you today with some basic things that you should be able to have in the budget. I will tell you basically. Since you made reference to the role, let's go to Jackson Hebdo Hospital. Anthony, you know that hospital. It was functioning, right? So to hear my brother saying there was no hospital, it's just funny. Then he wants to speak about credibility and facts. Who built that hospital? Was built under the CDC government. I'm sorry to hear the brother who is an intellectual say that knowing that Liberia was challenged, they say we don't have enough medical doctors. And the best policy his government can put in place in the healthcare sector is to construct a hospital when we don't have enough doctors. That in itself just tells us the type of government we have and why our people are struggling. I want you to understand one thing, my dear brother. Telling the Liberian people today that you agree the country is challenged, you agree that the country is high, you agree things are not fine. What you basically are acknowledging today is that since the coming of your government to power, you people have done nothing to move the needle. You have done nothing to improve the lives of our people. Because when Unity Party took over the country in 2006, Liberians were not saying the country was high. Liberians were not crying. We were creating jobs. We expanded the budget. We diversified the economy. So when you're talking and just keep running around and can't present nothing, it's funny. Anthony, I sent you a document from the UN. So think about it, what I sent you. Put it up, let the people see it. If the total money was raised was less than 700 million, total, the number you're referring to was the total time UN stayed in the country, which of course I told you. My English to you was United Nations operation in Liberia, there are different components. Even when the peacekeeping operation ended, UN remained in Liberia. So if you take how much UN as the United Nations spent in Liberia, that number you're using is true. But what I told you was on peacekeeping alone, which means the peacekeepers, I told you from the 700+ million that was raised, UN said they spent 500 million on peacekeeping. 200+ million was spent on building capacities. What are those capacities? That was the question an intellectual should ask. Now you know that the UN undertook the DDRR program, the disarmament rehabilitation, all those different programs. So that is what I try to help you to understand. But it seems like you have a problem, so you just run with numbers. Once I put number out for you, you don't even digest the number, you start running. And let me help you on one thing you said today that I could not hold back. When you said that the central bank do not give out loan, I don't know who your economic teacher was, but I'm beginning to question some of those teachers. Here in America, who set the interest rate for lending? What is the role of the Federal Reserve in America? Who gives out loan with low interest rate? And at the Feds, the Federal Reserve of Liberia, what is it? It's not a central bank in Liberia. So if the central bank is not the one that provides, who is referred to as the banker's bank? If it is not a central bank, folks.
Wow.
See, this is an economist student. Let's forget about him being an economist. But a man who holds a first degree in economics tells you people that the central bank do not give out loan. That is in itself. The central bank is the institution responsible, sir, for implementing government monetary policy. I hope you, when you know what monetary
Josh, hold on. He did not say, no, hold on, Josh, hold on. He did not say the central bank does not give out money for loan. No, he did not say that.
Anthony, he said Mio Jones was not supposed to because that's not the job of the central bank. I know what he said because I said,
up on that.
let me finish, sir, when you're speaking at this speech.
All right.
I said that why the Liberian people refer to Mio Jones as the poverty doctor is because Mio Jones, as central bank governor, he initiated the small micro loan financing. Now, his rebuttal was that the central bank is not the one that should do it. So who does that in the country? Who does it? Who is responsible for government monetary policy if it's not the central bank in Liberia? So I just wanted to clear that for him. But I will say this, Anthony. The reason why, you see, sometimes I don't travel with these documents or have them because I want to brag about it. The reason why we look at budget, the men say, oh, I can't be carrying a budget. That is a lame excuse. That in itself tells you that he wants to be speaking from these talking points based on lies. Now, if you came to a country as a government, and if you believe that the previous government provided little funding to better up its sector, what you do in your appropriation or resource allocation, you allocate more resources to make that sector better. When I asked him the question about the healthcare sector, what I expected to hear from him was to tell me the amount of investment made in Phoebe Hospital, in JFK, in Cali Hospital, in Redemption Hospital, but all he did was to run around. But I will tell you what they did, sir. When your government came to power, in its 2018-2019 budget, the CDC government cut funding for those hospitals. You reduced JFK budget from $5.9 million to $5.1 million. You reduced Phoebe Hospital budget from $2.1 million to $1.9 million. You reduced JFK and Cali Hospital from $750,000 to $50,000. You went across the board cutting. You sit here today and keep calling Joseph Boakai name because the reason why I try to keep out of it, we are not campaigning. But since you wanted to bring Ambassador Boakai, that's fine. Let me help you today. It is true why Ambassador Boakai had an office budget of $1 million. I hope you understand when you say Boakai was getting $1 million. That's not true. The money was not him, it's his, rather. In the vice president budget, do you know that a group of 77, they falls under the office of the vice president? Do you know what was allocated to them in the budget? 400,000+. Do you know that? Now, what did your government do when you came to power as the pro-poor government? You cut funding for the disabled by over 200,000. Is that the government that care about the people and a young man like you? You sitting here today and knocking your chest and yelling and yelling? The reason why I told you to talk about your budget, that will help the Liberian people to know exactly where your priorities are, where the resources are going, what is important to your government. Let me tell you, ECOWAS asked its member state to spend 16% of their national budget on education. Your government failed to do it. Do you know that? Your government could not allocate 15% of a budget to education. But you sit here today and knock your chest and want to. This is why you want me to follow you in talking from, oh, look there. I don't discuss issues like that. Tell me, all right. Let me finish, Anthony. He spoke.
Yeah, quickly.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
You were speaking, I didn't disrupt you.
Yeah,
When you
gentlemen, we
come
got to
here,
reduce the answers or the
I will.
speaking time.
When
We got
you
to
come
reduce
here,
it.
tell us.
Exactly.
Anthony, let me
Mhm.
finish.
Yeah,
When
please.
you roll out a policy, right, Anthony, if you believe that UL, for example, Madam Salih did not do well, and she allocated 16 million to LU, and you want to increase the quality of the education, what we should have seen in your budget was to allocate 21 million or 20 million to UL, increase the staff salary. Then we'll say, yeah, President, we have made LU better. President, we are investing in LU. But when you came, LU had a budget of 16 million. They barely can even receive 50% of that 16 million. And you sit here and tell me you are doing better. And the teachers had to protest for their money, they can't get paid. All the public universities running out of deficit, and you call yourself an intellectual, and you want me to join you and argue on that? That's something you want me to leave. I'll leave it with people, but you listen to the songs out there. That this kind of hard time, we never saw it early time. This kind of stealing, we never saw a UP time. This kind of corruption, it has been sank in the street. I will give you the chance, Anthony. Let's get to the rules that he wants us to talk about and prepare for us to discuss rules.
All right. Again, I come in, MacCullay. Folks, in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia on our program, The Hour of Politics with me, Anthony Sear. Is a special debate. It's debate Thursday, and we have Mr. George Lobbo representing the opposition bloc, Mr. MacCullay Wleh also representing the ruling CDC, and we are discussing, are we stranded or standing on the promises of President Weah? MacCullay said, we are standing proper strong. George Lobbo said, not only are we stranded, but we are dying. Who's telling the truth? You, the audience, will be the judge. Now, let's come to you, MacCullay. And my question before you respond to all those things, and George, we're going to leave it here and go to the rules. We have to end this thing soon. All right.
So let's start the rules.
Are we better off?
Go to the rules. I was the last. He was here an hour before me. I should have had time.
Well, you threw a lot of things there. I need to give him the opportunity to respond.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, but I will. Okay, great. Then you go ahead and tell us. I would love to hear those numbers on those.
All right, let's go, MacCullay, quickly.
Thank you. In short, we have said so much. Look, Lobbo again. Lobbo, I feel so disappointed that Lobbo will be speaking with so much ignorance. To be honest, no, to be frank, I know people listening to us. Not everybody might understand how these things work, but the very few people that do, I know they listen and say, damn, how could this guy be saying confidently things that he talked about the central bank and he made reference to the Federal Reserve in America. Have you seen Sonny C.A.? Have you seen anybody go to the Federal Reserve here to apply for a loan? I spoke, I said, the Federal Reserve, just like our central bank, yes, they set the rate. Yes, that's why we got a private banking institution, the Federal Reserve or the central bank, there to what? Monitor the monetary policy of the economy, right? And kind of influence it by setting rate from time to time on different based on different factors. For George Lobbo to say that the central bank or the Federal Reserve go and give loan, that is ignorant to the highest degree, complete ignorant. Setting rate does not mean you giving a loan. The private banks, they don't want to go out, they don't want we apply for loan too. So what happened in Liberia? You talk to anybody. You don't have to talk to me if you don't believe it. After the show, go and ask anybody. They will tell you that central banks don't go and give loans out. Even when Bob Johnson, even when Liberia gave that 30 million at the time, you give the money to what? The private banking institution, and you determine how that money is given.
So who gave the money to the private institution?
So that means clear that.
George, let him speak.
So
no, can you tell who gave the money to the private
idea in this particular subject will understand the level of ignorance my brother brought to this topic.
Private banks. Can you tell us that?
The next thing, my brother again came here and he said that the hydro project, he spoke about the hydro project. He said it was done for 12 million, and at the time Ellen launched the small lead today, big lead tomorrow. That was the only project that will carry on the generator project. After that generator project, we launched the HFO. That's why I asked if you're aware of the HFO at the Bushwell plant. It was completely different from that generator that was running. The HFO, which is a heavy fuel project. It's a subset that should be able to help to support, especially during the dry season. But let's go to the issue of the Bwaka office that I spoke about. I never said, oh, they gave Bwaka to, I said Bwaka was allotted. I spoke economic term. He was allotted over $1 million every year. It's a fact. I was right there. I interacted with Office almost on a daily basis. I was at the legislature at the time. He was allotted over $1 million every year. That's a fact. Everybody knows that. Okay. He had thousands of dollars for fuel, gas, all kinds of things. And he has demonstrated repeatedly that he's a follower. So let's forget about Bwaka thing. Every Liberian knows that Bwaka is a follower. He has never been a leader. Okay. And the all-meal total, but the brother still trying to justify that out of the 12 or more than 12 year United Nations spend in Liberia. I want to Judge Lobbo understand value. To say United Nations spend $500 million in Liberia is the greatest ignorant of the facts I've ever heard for anybody. I wonder if he knows this money, and when you hear this money, you know the value of them. You know what it means? 15,000 United Nations peacekeeper. All the way I say evidence to see it. He displayed that evidence to show that 2004, 2005 alone, they spent $864 million. And you want to distinguish? I said United Nations was spending this amount in Liberia. I did not say, oh, out of that money, they were spending this one for that, they spend this one for DDR. No. I said the money they spend in total. So anybody listening to all will realize that you don't even understand value of money to say United Nations will spend $500 million for all the years in Liberia. To go to Rose or see, let's go to the Rose issue. This government, in the history of Liberia, our total roads in Liberia, paved and unpaved, there are 13,000 plus kilometers of roads in Liberia. According to the World Bank, 2007 feasibility, there are 13,000 plus kilometers of roads in Liberia. All of those roads, prior to George Weah becoming president, since 1822 to 1847, we gained our independence. We had only 800 kilometers of the roads that were paved with asphalt, what the ordinary men call quota. Let me just keep it to quota and forget about that asphalt to not confuse people. We have only 800 kilometers that are paved with quota. Okay. Now, George Weah first term, as we speak today, which initially we have right now as we speak, the Banga to Saleye Road project that is ongoing. As we speak today, we have the Ganta to Yekepa, Ganta Sanikwele, Yekepa, and onwards to Lokatu. As we speak today, we have the Backleville to Greenville Road project that we already have the funding from the ECOWAS Bank. We also have the Ganta to Zweju road project that currently, as we speak, they are trying to carry on procurement to start roads work in the next dry season by God's grace. Okay, beyond that, we have also the roads, because by the selling time, I must commend them for that. They started the Harper to Fishtown. Harper is in Maryland County to Fishtown Road project. They started they stopped, actually the phase 1 was done. We stopped at this place here, Calocan. Calocan is in Maryland County. Okay, that road stopped in Calocan. Now as we speak, as I speak to you today, with that road project now is ongoing. The phase 2 is ongoing under this government from Calocan to take it to Fishtown. But beyond that, this government is also constructing the road, taking it from Fishtown in River G County to take it to what? Backleville in Grand Creek County. But that's not just that. Today in Liberia, tomorrow, in fact, my brother always talk about everything. I know where he is, but tomorrow, quote me, tomorrow, real actual works begins on the Roberts International Highway in Liberia. Quote me, say MacCullay said it. Tomorrow, actual work begins on the road. It started first. The first phase to take it from Smell Notice and bring that road to EIW Junction, expand that 4 lane. to come and meet the current road that we have going on from ELWA Junction to pack up in Coca-Cola factory, which is another 4-lane expansion. So tomorrow that works begin by the East International, partly owned by Liberian and some Chinese guys. Okay, beyond that road project in Liberia today, we have over 36 community road projects in and around Monserrado County. There are many that I will not have the time to link, but to name a few. We have the Johnsonville, Mount Barclay Road. We have the Nicholas Town Road. We have the St. Michael to Safi Road. We have the Duja to Town Hall in Barnersville Road. We have so many roads that I can't take people time here to list. We have the Banjo Road. But let's go to bridges also. Bridges today in Liberia, maybe my brother is not aware, the Do River Bridge that connects 15 Gate to the whole Firestone to go to Ralphie, Habe side there. That bridge got damaged since Ellen's time, Joseph Boakai time. I've always used Ellen and forgetting about Lobbo stand-up barrel. Since Joseph Boakai's time, that bridge got damaged. A huge truck got stuck in there for all the years while Lobbo then were there. And I even know what was going on, the suffering what people were being subjected to. That somebody wants to go, they have to come all the way to ELWA Junction to pass around to get to RIA because of that bridge. The George Weah government right now gave that bridge, as we speak, the bridge is arriving in Liberia, that project to be installed by 100% Liberian company owned by this guy from Nimba, who owned this company here. What's the name? Well, Jupiter. Jupiter is a construction firm, okay, that's carrying on that project. So now you will be able to drive, because can you imagine, just imagine if you have any emergency on the Ralphie Road, if you landed in Liberia, to leave from Ralphie to kind of ELWA, if anything were to happen on that road, you stuck. There's no option. That's the life Lobbo Joseph Boakai then left our people in. There was no option. You can't pass through Habe there to come through 15 Gate. No, it couldn't happen. It was impossible because the Do River Bridge been damaged for all the years. But under George Weah government, the government said, no, it can't happen. We can't have one way to the major airport. If we have emergency on the road, everybody will be stuck across there. Today, that road now, that bridge is being done to have both ways of going and being accessible. Okay, but beyond that, you go beyond Rexington to the MacCullay, huge community, MacCullay Bridge were disconnected. Our people are disconnected. Right now, to speak that road, that bridge is ongoing. Okay, we go to Clay Ashland Bridge. We go to so many things that I can't talk about. But the interesting parts here, that go to county's capital. County's capital, you know what I mean? Outside, even in Montreal, and I get rude if we talk about outside. Outside Monrovia, at least that people should be able to go to the counties. We want to have decentralized society. You have to provide certain infrastructure in the rural area. Today, I say tomorrow, right now, as we sit in this chair, all of us, there are pavement going on in Greenville, Sano County, paving streets in Greenville, Sano County today. Today. Beyond that, not just Greenville, but if you also go to Barclayville, right now, there are pavement going on in Barclayville also. Barclayville streets are being paved. Let me go Barclayville. Let's go to Bopolu. My brother, I guess you know Bopolu. Bopolu is the capital city of Bapolu County in Liberia. Bopolu, as we speak, they are paving streets in Bopolu. Then you talk about, so at all the, if you kind of a total, all of these road projects that I just enumerated, I just talk about rather, if you try to pull, we are talking about a little over 500 kilometers of roads. And that at least works are ongoing or are ongoing procurement and stuff like that. So it says 1847, 173 years this year, if my math is correct, which I am very confident it should be correct, or so, since that time, we have only 800 kilometers of paved road before George Weah became president. But in his first term, we have all of these projects going on right now. When
All
you
right,
tell
quickly.
those people that nothing good is happening in the road sector in Liberia, can you go to where I'm from in Bannersville, where oh, come on, can you do that? You can do it. You can go tell people in Johnsonville to Mount Barclay that their lives are not getting better. But today they see paved road coming.
And quickly.
Today, I had to buy land I used to be sold in Johnsonville for $900, $1,000. I had to pay $2,000 per lot because of the road project. $2,000 I pay for each of the lot of land I bought they gone down in Johnsonville because of the road project.
MacCullay. And quickly, that's why I'm telling you guys, the whole road thing is another 2 hours debate, and we don't have that time. But you guys want us to do it, we'll not go deep because of time. So I want you to end with all the roads that you just talked about. You know, let's be fair to our audience. Did the CDC government secure all the funding, some of the funding? The CDC, is CDC continuing these roads projects? Just put light on it, then we can have Josh come in.
Oh yeah, and thank God you asked that. Like I said, look, I believe in facts. I believe in reality. They say give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, right? And give Jesus what belongs to Jesus. I don't know if you're following. I even made reference of the Fishtown Road, right? I said the first phase was finished during the MacCullay time, right? They happened to Calocan sector, right? Even the road I mentioned first, the whole stretch there. In fact, let me take it from Banga to Menekoma, which includes Zozo, Foya, Zozo, Konya, Foya, all the places there. Thank God, I bless God, at least I've been across all of Liberia, so I know most of these stretch of roads. Okay, that particular project started with the Arab guys doing the MacCullay time and this government. So yes, some of the rules are something that started, but most of the rules, like I talk about, we got over 36 road projects that are ongoing in Liberia right now. So very few of them started from the previous government. It's a fact.
Very few or very more?
Very few.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lobbo, your rebuttal.
Anthony, the question you asked was not answered. Can the brother name us all the roads he named? Let him name 4 of them that the CDC government secured funding for since they came to power.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, please do for us.
Okay, I spoke about the Roberts International Road project that's starting tomorrow.
And where is okay? The funding was secured from who?
It was secured by this government.
When?
Were you?
So, I'm asking question.
When George Weah took over East International in Liberia, they were carrying other projects. And then the government, to the best of my memory, it was 2017. Yeah, 2017 when the legislature. Yeah, so 2017 when it got approved.
The funding got...
2019, George Weah, 2018, 2019 budget year. That was the time that agreement was consummated. In fact, just recently, when 2 senators, Senator DeLong and Senator Oscar Cooper, they were not even aware that Oscar Cooper, Senator DeLong was in there, but Senator Oscar Cooper was not even aware that he was right in the house there when that agreement was done. Honor his wife when George Weah became president for that RIA rule. So
let me ask the question again. I will ask the question very simple. I'm not asking for explanation. Can you tell me which bank, which country, who did you secure the $101 million from to pave the road from Liberia Junction to Ralphie? That is my question. And when was that agreement signed? When was it ratified by the legislature? That's my question.
Like I stated, I don't know if I always talk about attention to detail. I said 2018 was when it was rectified by the legislature. The funding for that particular project, the government and East International got in the agreement. East International is the one that is going to source the funding from a Chinese bank, which name I can't pronounce. But East International is going to source that funding. That was the agreement. And you talk about, can you name several roads? I one road there.
You name one, Ralphie, go ahead. The second one.
The Barclayville. The Barclayville.
When you secure funding for that, how much is it?
We have secured $100 million.
$100 million from where?
Bank. From the ECOWAS Bank.
When was that deal rectified?
That deal was rectified in the beginning of 2019.
When in
the
2019?
beginning of last year, that deal was rectified.
Okay.
$100 million. But see,
go ahead, keep going.
Why are you not following these things?
No, keep going. Just keep going.
Okay.
I want to you get to. Go ahead.
So those are projects that the government is funding, right?
Are the only two roads you secure funding for? That's what I'm asking.
No, as we speak.
Name two more.
As we speak.
Yeah, which one?
Government is procuring.
All right, George.
By the World Bank. Project
as we go along, yeah. you can come up.
Okay,
no,
let me
let me name another one from Ganta. From Ganta to Tapeta, from Tapeta to Swaju. That project is 100% sourced by this government.
Can you let me speak?
Oh yeah, no, you were asking me. I was just
no, George. You are bringing this. He spoke. You didn't have to give your response and rebut. But you wanted to ask question. You asking question. Let him learn.
Yes.
All right. So
can I speak now?
You want him to go down, MacCullay?
Yeah. Except you still not satisfied with what.
All right, George. You can always rebut, refute. I mean, you always have that leverage to do so. Go ahead.
My fellow Liberians, I'm not going to take much of your time. The reason why I asked those questions was very simple. Anthony, do us a favor, please. Can you post the listing of the total road completed by Ellen so the public can see them first? Then I will get into some of the roads in need. Can you post that picture for us? So we'll know when people come here to talk about the truth. Post that picture for us, please.
I will get to that and be speaking.
Okay. While Anthony is doing that, my dear brother, let me say this to you. You see, I told you when you come to an intellectual discourse, when I ask you about the facts, it's not sitting here and just yelling and talking about the roads. The roads. It is telling me that on April 15 or in April of 2008, we secured this funding from the Bank of Kuwait, from the African Development Bank, from the Chinese bank. That is how intellectuals must come to these discourses. But let me help the brother today. The man said they've secured millions and millions of dollars. 100 million. I didn't know about that in 2019. Wow. I will help the brother to understand. The CDC first major road due rectification was just passed this gone March 12th. Y'all look at the roads that Ellen paid. Y'all look at them first. Then before I get to the other one, let the public read that. So when the brother was lying, y'all look at the facts. Now let me get to I'm glad he said one thing, that there was 800 paved road, because that's what we did. Now let me help the brother again. When we ask questions about securing the funding for roads, it means a government went out, negotiated, marketed the idea to a government, to a bank, to a financial institution that they want to make an investment in infrastructure. They gave the reasons, they conducted feasibility studies, and they secured the funding. And once they secure the funding, an agreement is reached and the deal is signed. I'm sorry to say, my dear brother, when you have the chance, go read. Your first loan agreement that have ever been sent to be ratified to the Liberian legislature by your president was sent on March 12th, and it is for the loan of $66.7 million. Anthony, did I send that to you as well? So you can post it for him to read. Now, let me help the brother understand. Everything you said, I'm sorry, I like to be professional enough. I don't like to refer to people as liars, in as much as you were here knocking your chest and referring to me as misleading back and forth. I want to say today that I'm sorry for the future of our country. That a young man like you don't even understand what it means to secure funding. I ask you, when was the funding for the RIA road secure? When was the agreement reached? Where was the funding coming from? You are yet to source the funding. That in itself is a complete disgrace and an embarrassment. Let me help the brother again. Since your CDC government came to power, when I speak of facts and not your, go check. In 2018-2019 budget, your government allocated 29,666,000 to roads. In your 2019-2020 budget, your government allocated another 29,300,000 to roads. If you add everything up, your government is yet to allocate $62 million to roads. So all the lies you spare out here, I'm sorry for you. All right? But let me tell you about your roads. In 2018-2019 budget, your government allocated 29,666,000. You spent only 12 million and some more thousand towards roads. That is how pathetic your government is. Anthony, please do me a favor. I send you all the facts. Can you please post? I want you posted one at a time. Can you please post for us the $200 million secured to pave the road from Ganta to Zwedru so the Liberian people can see it? And when you post it, when the people see it, can you also post for us the road from Ganta to Yekepa that was agreed in 2014? The last time I checked that, look at it, my dear brother Reed. Was that the CDC government? When I speak of facts, I don't come here to knock my chest and speak from talking points. Anthony, can you also post the road? The one he talked about, the second phase in the southeastern, it was part of the road agreement, part of the Fishtown Harper Highway. That is another road from Ganta, from Wleh to Ganta. Then Anthony, can you also help him again with the road from Banga to Manikwama? Let me have my brother understand something. When government secure funding for a project, right? The reason why I ask you is this government that secured the funding. Most of the projects of Madam Sali, not all the funding was secured from one bank or from one country or from one institution. Part of those funding was secured from different areas. What you've been seeing happening in your government is that funding that we secure for projects, when this money have been disbursed by the faces, you come here and mislead our people, knocking your chest to have the facts. It is disappointing to know that you who come from the party, that you are not even aware that since your government came to power, your major road loan ratification agreement is $66 million. We ask you, my question was very simple. I asked you to tell me where is the source of the $101 million will be coming from to pave the Ralph Highway. You are struggling and dying here today. I did not come here to commit murder. I came here to help my brother understand. I came here to inform you. I hope that when you go out there, and speaking of development, this is why it is difficult for you to understand. When you talk about the country we gave you, this is the country we gave you. We gave you a country where we invested in infrastructure. We gave you a country where we secure funding to open up highways to promote agricultural activities. This is what we gave you. When we came to power in 2006, there's no government that secured funding for the Unity Party government for any roads. There was no road project ongoing when UP came to power in 2006. All the roads were destroyed. This is what we gave you. So for you to sit here today and knock your chest and lie to these people with no remorse, that is unacceptable. And I hope when you leave from here today, when you do, you repent from what you did. I try to be as professional, as calm as I can be, because I knew what you came here with were talking points. Since your government came to power, the reason why you are heavily invested in community roads is because you want to make us feel that you basic. When we came to power, the Unity Party government was concerned about opening economic corridors. Can you post that? Bring it down so he can read. I went to Buchanan in 2003. Post it for him. Please bring it down, let him read. When I went to Buchanan in 2003, or Anthony, it took me 2.5 hours from Kakata to Buchanan to Beaumont. Today, we paid that road at the cost of $33 million. The road is paved. When I went to Buchanan to campaign with Barney Sherman in 2005, it took us 5 hours to go to Buchanan. Today, we paved the road from Monrovia to Buchanan. It's taking traffic 1 hour, 30 minutes. That is what development is about. But for some of you people who come here to sing praises to the government and have little or no understanding and want to knock your chest because you can speak from talking points, I didn't come here for that. I came here to help our brothers and sisters understand so that the next generation will not be misled by young men like you. I strongly believe that the guys from the progressive misled our people. So as a result, we must do a good job as young people to evaluate what we hear, to investigate what we receive. It's unfortunate that you will sit here today and lie with no remorse on all these roads. When all over the country, we gave you a country where we open up the roads for you. Think about it. What does road bring to the country? It promotes economic activities. And you sat there and say, we gave you a country that was bad. The country was this. Do you know the country we inherited? We did not meet no road project ongoing. From the old road, I don't know if you went on the old road. The old road was complete bad road with a budget of $80 million. Madam Salib in 2006 repaired that road from City Hall to 24th Street. When we sat in Texas, it used to be we repaired those roads. Rehabilitation of community roads. Listen to why your president is building roads. You should be ashamed of yourself to sit here today and want to engage me. Your president said he's building roads so boyfriend can go visit girlfriend. When the United Party government was building roads, we were building roads to promote economic activities. We were not building roads for boyfriend and girlfriend. But I'm not surprised. Your party is about making love. That's why you're here for. You're saying in your song, all we're here for is having fun and making love. It's embarrassing that you sit here today. You cannot even source one correct funding. I had to help you with one. You lie here on everything. And you knock your chest here as an intellectual. This is why you say you didn't come with the facts. Because you have no facts to present. If we take away, if we sift up your personal emotions, your sentiments and talking points from the truth, they will have your funeral tonight. But I will let you go today because of time. I agree you came before me. And I mean, it was because of time that I missed the scheduling. But I assure you that for today, I hope you survive. Come back for another day. The next time you engage me, don't come here and just be talking when I ask you. And let me help you again on something you said on this point. Here's my statement. I told you that the central bank is the banker's bank. You talk about the bank gave the money to private bank. Who gave the money to private bank? When government wants to invest in the private sector, for example, in the private banking sector.
Josh.
Let me finish.
Josh, don't take up bars. We are on road. You guys want to also come to road. Do not take up bar. I will not allow that. No, George, as a moderator, I am not going to allow that. Leave that. Yes, please leave that. We are not going back to that.
No, we're not going back. I don't want to try this. Okay, if you said no, I'll leave it there. But
yes, please, Josh.
Since the CDC government came to power, my dear friend and brother, if we take away Ellen Johnson's rules that was ongoing, I didn't even bring the Somalia draft. I left it out for you. There's so many of them if I was to go on them today. But I will say this to you. I appreciate what I expected for you to tell me today. Say when we came to power as the CDC government, we met the Unity Party has secured this funding for this role. Our government went out in our first 2 years. We secured $100 to pave the road from Tapeta to Lokwato. We secured additional $100 million to pave the road from Tonmanbra straight to Lofa. You didn't say none of those. All you had to do was to list early completed projects that are ongoing. But I'm not surprised. But you still tell the people that we left you with a bad country.
And Josh, quickly, before I can bring Mr. Wleh in, there is this very good saying that government is continuity. Excellent. The Unity Party, to our credit, as we see the evidence, managed to secure significant funding for a number of roads. The Unity Party did not initiate some of those roads. initiated some of those roads and left some of those roads either half done or left the funding, okay, for the roads to be started. The CDC came in and initiated the construction aspect of those roads, and they are ongoing. Do you have any credit to give to the CDC when it comes to the issue of continuity?
Oh, I would love to do that, Anthony, but let me say this to you. First and foremost, I want to disagree with the way in which you said it. We initiated all the projects before we left. Let's be factual. The road from Ganta to Yekepa was ongoing. The agreement was signed by
you can't say, George, you said that you people initiate. No, hold on, let me hold you, George. You said you people secured the funding for the RIA. Did you initiate it?
That means for it to get started. Let me finish my statement, Anthony. Let me finish. I know what I said. I know what I said. That road, demolition has started on that road before Madam Sali left office. If you can remember, even in December of 2017 during the election, do you recall, let me finish, when George and Madam Sali broke ground for the Banga Medikoma road, when many people got offended while Ellen did it? You remember that? The road in the southeast, it was ongoing. You remember that? It started in 2014.
Right.
So these major roads, like I said, these projects were ongoing. Even the Somalia draft, we left it ongoing. But now, if you speak about a government that inherited something, Anthony, then you Liberians must also tell us which government left road construction for the Unity Party government. Which road did we meet funding secure for? What we met was a $4.5 billion debt. Think about it. What we gave you all these roads. We gave you a stable country. We gave you a country that had rating on the international stage. So to sit here today and say we gave you a bad country, it is disingenuous to us.
All right.
What we inherited. That is all I'm saying.
All right, Josh, let's leave it there. Let's come to you, Mr. Wleh. Quickly.
Thank you.
Your turn. Yeah.
Yeah, you see, CA, anybody that has some level of education that can analyze, they will feel so sorry for Josh because the guy is so, I try to be respectful of, especially I respect the fact George has taken his time to come here, but he keeps disappointing me. Every time I try to be, sympathetic, he keeps disappointing me. How George can continuously, in fact, see, I just sent you something. I want you to show it to our audience quickly. Okay. Because George, they keep going out there misinforming people. He said, George, we are on a road he had ever secured since he came to power was a $66 million something I'll just rectify, right? But I just sent you what the signing ceremony for the for the Barclayville Sastown Road project. I hope you can show it to our audience. Again, I will continuously show to our people how George Lobbo lacks the understanding of these things. He speaks in isolation. He don't know how related some of these things are. And and he came here and he said a bold-faced lie. Since you're trying to set up another debate, I will come here, but I will also say even before that next debate, where the former finance minister of Liberia, Amara Kone, himself commended George Weah government when, thank you, now what people read. Y'all please look what on the screen there. And there was when? December 2018, right?
18, right here.
2018. Our people, y'all please pay attention. Scroll down further to, I can't remember the exact paragraph, but just, okay. Yeah, okay. So
let me read this. Let me read this here. All right. Speaking at the signing ceremony at the Boulevard place in Cinco, the Minister of Public Works, Mambutu Yimbon, said the signing of the $100 million loan deal came about as a result of President George Weah meeting and discussion with the president of the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development.
Okay. Thank you. So you see, CA,
go ahead.
No, but listen.
No, George, start interrupting.
I hope our people are really carefully, conscientiously, meticulously paying attention as George Lobbo market his ignorance. He comes here with so much lies, deceit, and talking about when I'm feeling with you, you know, all those childish intellectualism. Oh, and when I'm feeling with you, you survived it. Those are children things that, you know, mature intellectuals don't go to that route. I will not follow in there. You focus on the issues. I just provided you with evidence to prove 2018, December, evidence, not me. And more besides that, I was just trying to stroll through Amara Connor's page, former finance minister, to get out evidence to show to you again. But then Amara Connor said acknowledge when it broke ground for the RRA rule. He said, yes, we had a vision to do the RRA rule. Yes, we even came up with a blueprint. Even recently, I hear people saying, oh, y'all know y'all do the blueprint, we'll do the wetting. I can't, second on Liberia, I hear around a few times. He said they came out with a blueprint, but they were unable to secure funding for the RRA rule. And for Lobbo to say they secure funding or for the RRA rule. Okay, I love to be fair to my audience. I think maybe there was CA that misquoted you, but CA said you said you initiated funding for the RRA rule.
No.
Okay, if you say that, then I will let that go. Okay.
Everyone talk about he say.
Thank you. But to come and then he made reference, he sent you something that you showed to the people. I hope our people are paying attention because some of these things they kind of need a little critical way of looking at it. Lobbo sent us 70 million that was secured initially by the Ellen Joseph Selig government for the Banga Menekoma road. You know how much that road is going to cost in total?
200 million.
Then you say the early government was able to only secure initial 70 million for that road. Oh, amen. You send it and your brother.
Let me tell you, Anthony have components of it. I sent him it. He has another 45 million.
Oh, he has the reality.
He has it. Ask him.
The government, I stated very clearly. For me, I told our audience and you, I love to be honest. Okay. When he asked me, are you saying all of these roads were done, was started just? But I told you, I said no. I said there are roads. I made reference to roads, even the Harper Fishtown Road project. I made reference. The Somalia Drive you just mentioned. Are you aware that President Weah was in Japan just the other time to sign the second phase of that road project? Yes, I continue. I acknowledge what look, give Caesar to what belongs to Caesar, my brother. I'm not into politics for anything. I'm into politics for Liberia. Tomorrow, anybody becomes president outside George Weah, I'm going to support that person so Liberia can succeed. That's all I want, Liberia to succeed. But for us to come here and try to be, you know, most of you guys focus on the politics of these things. I don't focus on the politics. I focus on the reality and the facts. Okay, you can use all the derogatory terminologies towards me and so that. I respect that. I know the Liberian intellectual discourse is kind of that's a normal thing. So when you come to this thing, you expect to be to the West. So it don't move me. I got a thick skin. But the reality remains, Lobbo, like CA stated, I hope for the sake of our audience, he will reschedule something, will come with all of the different evidences, facts, different sectors, and we discuss these things. George Weah government is a fact. Our people on the ground are living a reality. I don't know when last you were ever in Liberia, but I hope you can go to Liberia. Even people, I know friends that just don't even let to hear the George Weah name. They consider him the worst person. They went Liberia, they themselves, they can't acknowledge, say, damn, my man, I got a friend, okay, who lives Bancho. He said, my man, I can't believe it. I road. I never thought in my life that it will ever be paved. So the realities are there. The economic reality in Liberia now is difficult. Yes, things are making gradually. George Weah trying to see how we can build a structure so we can have sustained economic progress. We're going to other sector hopefully next time where we'll talk about export and other things I saw CAPO on the paper. And those are good things that we'll go into. I will tell you about how well manufacturing, actual economic growth is promising right now in Liberia under George Weah government. We're building the largest palm oil plant in Maryland County as we speak. The largest in West Africa has been built in Maryland County as we speak today.
Are we still talking roads?
And we're still on the road. I'm just trying to chip you a little bit, my brother. So all of these things, when it comes to the road issue, I have stated clearly. I listed, I said there are a lot of roads that are ongoing. I talk about county capital. Are you saying what? Are they not facts, or are you not aware? You want me to provide something I can
Let
email
me,
you? I
you
can
want me
send it
to,
through
are you
Facebook.
asking me?
I talk about a lot of other roads. I talk about community roads and all
Are you
of these
asking me?
across Monserrato
Are you
County.
asking me or are you saying something
So
I
the
want to know?
reality, no, I'm making my statement. Okay.
Okay.
The reality remain. I know I was very tolerant when you were talking, but I guess I understand that's a normal thing right now in Liberia. So, but the truth is, George Weah government, his first term will see over 500 kilometers of road, holding all variable constant by God's grace, being provided to the Liberian people. Prior to George Weah taking over, we have between, I think, 5 or 6 counties that were linked, okay, which were Monserrato County, Grand Bassa County, McGibby, which is obviously right there, Bon County, and Nima County. Now, George Weah is doing, as we speak, George Weah is trying to link every county, all 15 counties, by roads. That is unprecedented. It's a fact. Nobody will come here and say, oh, what the man saying is a lie. Every Liberian knows that since 1847, we have only about 800 kilometers of road paved in Liberia. Every Liberian knows that to be a fact. So when you're talking these things, I'm not trying to, I just want our people to know what the facts are. Because most of the time I see everybody trying to send information, discuss things that they don't even have expertise in, and it misinform our people. And and some of these numbers. Look, my brother, it's no, I don't let it go. But numbers game, some of our game. We work with numbers, we live with numbers. So we when we call numbers, we know where the numbers are coming from. And I've shown, I hope the audience know that I've displayed to them repeatedly. Every time you falter on your numbers, I try to correct them. Like the last one I just did with that December 2008 road project. So you were talking about, I know when I be here, when you leave from here, all the childish things and stuff like that. I hope our people have seen the facts that have been provided, not the emotion or not the sentiment or not the trying to be a giant or appear to be a giant. No, I didn't come here to be a giant or appear to be a giant. I came here to make sure the Liberian people, our audience, can know that Liberia is making progress. That Liberia today, before the end of the year, we're going to other sector, we're going to energy sector, where we'll talk about electricity, we'll talk about the percentage of people from under 5% before the year, and we're hoping that at least about 20% of our people will have access to reliable electricity, and targeting at least about 60% of our people in the next couple of years, which is unprecedented in Liberia history. Those are facts, not opinion. So we come next time, we'll provide all of these things to our people.
All right, gentlemen, I am sorry. Management is on my bike.
Yeah,
we cannot go 4 hours. We cannot go 3 hours. So this is what I have for you. I will ask for a 2 minutes closing statement each, and then I will offer you a rematch of this debate because we have a lot to cover and we cannot cover that now. So can you both commit to a rematch of this debate? George Lobbo?
I'll be open to it.
Yes,
Right.
Especially with the time you always.
Yeah.
I'm always free at this hour.
Yes.
Is
it going to be on Thursday?
What day you suggest?
I should be working from home, so maybe do Thursday. I will be able to. I'll make the adjustments.
Yeah, make an adjustment for Thursday, please. The debate will reconvene next Thursday.
I wanted to say something real quick on something real quick.
Yeah, and then you conclude because we are out of time. We can't talk everything today.
All right, let me say this to you, see.
And then I want all of you to close with this. Are we better off now?
Let him go ahead. Let him go ahead.
You already there. Why you want me? Go ahead.
Because I wanted to speak to something you said with regards to the road.
2 minutes.
Go ahead, close. Go for it.
No, use your 2 minutes, brother. It's okay. I'm here.
Here's what I want to say, see.
Okay.
Once again, I want to apologize to all you Liberians for my being late today. As Anthony said, that is not part of me. And Anthony, you will not believe it, that phone was even off. That's why you kept on calling. It had to take someone to call me. I was sitting here, I came home 2 hours ago, and was waiting for the time. I just had it in my mind that it was 4 p.m. my time. Well, it was supposed to be 3 p.m., which of course was an error on my part, and I apologize to all of you. But I want to say tonight, to my dear friend Wleh, I hope we come back again. And when we come back this time around, please, I beg, when we speak in terms of reality, the reality is not opinion. The reality is not just saying what you say and say that's the fact. The reality is speaking to what the government is allocating to better benefiting the people. The reality is speaking to what government is putting in public services, what government is allocating to the educational sector, what programs the government is putting in place to rehabilitate people. That is the reality. What is happening in the market, what has been done to attract investors to create jobs, those are the reality. The reality is not the talking points. The reality is what is happening to consumer spending. The reality is what is happening in the financial sector. Banks not being liquidated. Those are the reality. The reality is a government that is expanding Liberia's potential outside and at home, where people want to come to invest. The reality is a government that protects the rule of law. The reality is a government that is transparent. The reality is a government that is protecting freedom of expression. Those are the reality. Those are the conditions under which a nation, a vibrant nation, strives. But tonight, I want to say this to you. As the world is challenged with this major epidemic, I want to use the rest of my time to call on our brothers and sisters back home. Please, please. This epidemic is serious. Please, I want you to begin to take precaution. You know the government you have. The president makes a statement, an agency comes and corrects the president. Please, I want to plead with you. This is not the days of the Ebola where the world came to our rescue. Today, America that came to our rescue and other nations, they are struggling to contain this disease. Please, wash your hands, avoid social gatherings, make sure you take precaution. We don't have the resources. This government is struggling. It is sad to know that our task force that was set up asked the government for 5.2 million. The first disbursement was 100,000. Until yesterday when I saw the signing of a $40 million from the World Bank. You have to wash your own back. You have to be there for your own self. I'm begging you, please, please, your safety is my concern. I want to make sure that all Liberians are safe. Please take care. God bless you. I will reconvene. We'll come back another day. Anthony and the Focus on Liberia team, I want to say thank you. And I want to call on all Liberians, please allocate time to calling back home and educating our people. It is very important. Our people need to take cautionary measures to deal with this particular epidemic. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Josh Lobbo, giving his closing statement. And so those of you in cyberspace, this debate, part 2 of it, will be next Thursday, same time. As we call on Mr. Wleh to make a closing statement, those of you who are following us, you want to say to us who you believe won the debate, and the result will be announced in the next debate. Mr. Wleh.
Yeah. So let me say thanks to the Focus on Liberia crew, and thanks to my brother George. I always struggle with a lot in
Lobbo.
My last name is Lobbo. Just call George.
Lobbo
for anyone will go.
For coming. I know America is a very engaging place. We are all busy, and seeing people taking the time to do this, you must be able to appreciate them.
Right.
I hope like he's asking next time. Yeah, next time we'll come, bring the budget and go in detail. I hope also we'll come and focus on the issues and be more professional and forget about all those childish things about when I bury you and this and that and stuff like that. I think our audience are not interested in those wars of bury you and this and that. They are more interested in the facts. A lot of people out there are interested in knowing what is happening in Liberia. And also just I want to say too, in solidarity to our people that have been victim to this coronavirus pandemic. My brother kept saying epidemic, but there is a medical distinction. So I just try to make that emphasis that it is actually a pandemic. It's not an epidemic. So I hope our people will understand that we can all do what is required, what we have to do to get through this together. Don't follow people who are not experts in the field. There are too many people out there that are spreading misinformation, disinformation, lies, and all of those things. Don't follow them. Those people don't mean well. They are dangerous to your health and our society. And lastly, I would say see again next time we'll come here, and like always, I'll be very ready to provide the facts to our people that they can be able to see for themselves. Even if you don't love George Weah or you came with a preconceived mind, the facts will be there so you can make your own conclusion about what is happening in Liberia. Liberia, times are tough. It takes all of us to do it together. What you can do, what I can do, what Lobbo can do, what C can do for Liberia to move forward. George Weah government is struggling to undo the ills that have been left since 1847. And we are getting there. Next time we come, we'll go sector to sector to explain how we are getting there, how we will get there in a more sustainable way, that if we have economic shock, at least to a large extent, we'll be able to absorb that shock, not as compared to what we saw in 2004 when Ebola came. We just knew for sure how Liberia had absolutely nothing, no structure in place. So thank you for this opportunity here. And it is always a pleasure being on the Focus on Liberia team. And hopefully we'll be here next Thursday. Did you say next Thursday? If that is correct, I will be available.
What time?
I'm always available.
Next Thursday, and we will make it 6 p.m. Eastern. 6 p.m. Eastern. Which will be time, 3 p.m. your time, Josh. Yeah.
Yeah, my man. But see, thank you.
Yeah, we should be 3 p.m. your time, Josh. And my time in Minnesota, MacCullay and myself live in the same state, at 5 p.m. So make note of that. And anytime I send the communication, look at the communication carefully. I always put the time in there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Oh, thank you very much.
All right, folks in cyberspace, this will conclude the debate. Like we are telling you, part 2 of this debate will be next Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Arizona time, 5 p.m. Minnesota time. That will conclude the debate. I have been your host, Anthony Sear, hosting on this program, The Hour of Politics, on this network, Focus on Liberia, the only network among all the network or platforms that provide you the opportunity to hear a debate. Even though our presidential candidates don't want to debate, but this election year that coming, we will compare them to debate yet at Focus on Liberia. This is where we are starting. Going forward, coming tomorrow, it will be our Innovative and Solution Series show. The topic, we will be talking about constructing our roads and bridges. Roads and bridges will be the emphasis tomorrow. That show comes on at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We want roads, we want bridges. We want to look at the numbers. We want to look at the design. We want to look at everything. So folks, don't miss it. It will be coming up tomorrow, Friday. Sunday will be our prime time Sunday. We'll also announce that. Follow us here at Focus on Liberia. You will see all our show schedule because we always advertise the show sometime a day or two before the show. That will do it for us. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel always. This show will be there in the next 1 hour and you can watch the entire thing. Thank you, Mr. George Lobbo, for honoring our invitation. Mr. Wleh, thank you for honoring our invitation.
Once again, I apologize for being late. I'm sorry for that.
You can't apologize enough. We understand, George. That is not about, that is not part of you, and we definitely understand. Thank you, and that will do it.
Thanks to all of you for coming late. I'm sorry. Sorry, my dear friend and brother.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye.